Chapter 1. When his soul was reincarnated into this world, Evan did not awaken the memory of his previous life and spent 14 years as a native of Marvel Sokovia. A few years ago, civil strife broke out in Sokovia. Evan's parents were massacred for participating in a demonstration, leaving Evan an orphan. Since then, Evan has lived alone, making a living by making some handicrafts, and taking care of the girl next door, Wanda, who also lost her parents. Until today, Evan Awakening's past life, S.H.I.E.L.D, finally recalled the memories of his past life, and realized that he was a time traveler. Not only did he transform into an Eggman with white skin and a yellow heart, but he also became a neighbor with Wanda Maximoff. However, there is one difference from Evan's perception. Wanda's brother Pietro did not survive the accident that year. Today, Wanda has no relatives alive. Evan sat alone at home, reminiscing about his past and present lives. I traveled to the Marvel movie universe. This year is the beginning of 2007. According to the Marvel movie timeline, at this point in time, it is still more than 2 years since the first story of Iron Man took place. Perhaps it was the memory of Evan Awakening's previous life, the thing that caused him to travel through time, that was finally activated at this time. Ding! The super game development system is online. Binding, the binding is successful. Although this system is a game development system, its intention is to change the fate of the world. Only by changing the fate of others and the fate of the world can you obtain the rewards given by this system. Ding! The game editor is online. Ding! The redemption mall is online. Ding! The player marked function to go online system? Evan was shocked at first, then ecstatic. But soon, he frowned again. Tongzi, if I remember correctly, there is a place called the Time Variation Administration in the Marvel movie universe. If I deviate from the trajectory of my destiny and significantly change the destiny of others, will they find me? Ding! Host, please don't worry. The timeline of the Marvel movie universe you travel through is based on yourself. TVA will only consider the world you changed to be the timeline that should be maintained. That's good. Evan breathed a sigh of relief. He began to study the usage of this system and its functions. An hour later, he finally figured it out. To put it simply, the function of the system is to change the fate of others by creating games. But we can only change the fate of those with great luck and influence the world through them. What is a person with great luck? To put it bluntly, they are the protagonists and supporting characters in the Marvel movie universe. Ordinary people don't count. Even if you change the fate of ordinary people, you won't get any rewards. Instead, it would be rewarded if it changed the fate of the Avengers, and other superheroes, supervillains. So far, the Super Game Development System has launched 3 functions, namely Game Editor, Exchange Mall, and Player Mark. Evan can use the Game Editor to edit games. As long as Evan provides ideas and creativity, the editor can automatically program the game without paying any fees or intervals. You can use it whenever you want. The game world edited by the editor is a digital world similar to Digimon, and you can enter it physically. The Redemption Mall function is only for Evan and cannot be used by other players. To exchange currency in the mall, you need to change the fate of others to obtain it. Finally, there is the Player Mark function. This function is used to mark players, but only people who have physical contact with Evan can be marked as players. People who have been tagged can enter the game world anytime and anywhere without using a gaming device. That's about it. An idea gradually came into Evan's mind. If I make the future stories of the Marvel movie universe into a game, let the superheroes of the Marvel world play, and let them know the future in advance, this can significantly change the plot, thereby changing the fate of superheroes, supervillains, and even the entire world. Is it feasible? At the moment, Evan's thinking is extremely clear. Evan clicked on the game editor and started editing the game. First, there needs to be a common area where players can interact with each other. Well, the environment of the public areas can be modeled after the Malibu Beach in Los Angeles. From now on, every player who logs into the game will automatically get a beach house as their birthplace in the public area Malibu Beach. Players can meet and communicate with each other in public areas. Marvel's movie plots and stories can be made into copies. For example, copy.ironman1, copy.ironman2, copy.thor1, copy.avengers, and so on. There is a game editor, and Evan does not need to worry about the process of editing the game. He only needs to express his creative ideas, and the editor will automatically program the game content without even finding a single bug. Evan's body disappeared into his home. He came to Malibu Beach, a public area in the game world, and automatically received a luxury beach house. This villa can be regarded as Evan's home in the game world. Every player will get such a home when they log into the game for the first time. Because you can enter the game world at any time, you can live here forever, which makes Evan's home outside become less important. Anyway, the home in the outside world is just a small bungalow that is not spacious. It is not as comfortable as living in this mansion. Evan continues to use the game editor. He started designing the game board function. The player's personal information can be displayed in the panel, and players can also enter the instance through the instance option in the game panel. At present, Evan has only created one copy of the game, Iron Man 1, and has not made subsequent copies. He plans to test the game first to see the effect, and will talk about the rest later. Chapter 2. Evan left the game world and reappeared at home in the outside world. He clicked on the exchange mall of the Super Game Development System to see what goodies there were. There are all kinds of things inside. But the only things that can improve your strength are weapons and techniques, and there is no option for super ability. If you want to become stronger, in addition to exchanging weapons and equipment, you can only exchange exercises and practice on your own. There are many techniques in it. The weaker ones include 9 Yang Divine Art, 9 Yin Manual, Ming Yu Gong, Great Shift of the Universe and 8 Wonderful Techniques, and the stronger ones include Chakra System and Cultivation System Magic System. There are even more weapons and equipment, including technological equipment, magic weapons, magic props, and so on. In addition to the two major categories of weapons and equipment and skills and magical powers, there is also the daily life category. In this category are all daily necessities that you can buy with money in reality, and they are all here. Evan found that he had 100 redemption points in his account. Is this a novice reward? Evan murmured to himself. Ding! Due to the existence of the host, Wanda's fate has slightly shifted, and the host is hereby rewarded with 100 redemption points. I see. Evan suddenly realized. Since you have 100 redemption points, let's first redeem something that can increase your self-protection ability. After all, this is the Marvel world, and it's dangerous. After some picking and choosing, Evan finally used the 100 exchange points to exchange for the Laihoku Immortal Thief among the 8 magic skills. Laihoku Immortal Thief. Laihoku refers to the 6 internal organs in the human body, whose functions are to digest food, absorb nutrients, and excrete dregs. The Laihoku Immortal Thief can make the 6 internal organs in the human body instantly absorb the essence of substances and convert it into chi, making the human body energetic, increasing physical fitness, lasting beauty, and thus extending life. To put it bluntly, this is a technique that can seize the fortune of heaven and earth and absorb the vitality of heaven and earth for one's own use. It will keep youth forever and extend lifespan. At the same time, the chi it produces can defuse attacks, strengthen self-healing ability, and even assist teammates. There is no doubt that it is a very cost-effective method. This is why Evan chose it. After the exchange was completed, all the knowledge about the Laihoku Immortal Thief automatically appeared in Evan's mind. Evan was going to practice this first, at least to achieve some success in his practice, and he could just use the adjustable time flow rate in the game world to practice. The maximum ratio of the time flow rate between the game world and the outside world can be adjusted to the extent that 1 year in the game and only 1 day in the real world passes. When practicing in the game world, Evan can gain 1 year of cultivation in the outside world. This is the biggest plug-in for this game development system. Evan plans to mark players after he has gained strength. After all, in order to tag a player, you have to make physical contact with them. You know, some people are not easy to see. It is very dangerous to approach them without any strength. Like those people in S.H.I.E.L.D. Even Tony Stark is not easy to approach. He is a super rich man and has bodyguards around him. If you approach him rashly, you will definitely be stopped by the bodyguards. Therefore, it is necessary to improve strength. Just when Evan was about to enter the game world again, someone opened his door, and Wanda, a girl next door dressed in red, walked in from the outside, holding a bag of fresh ingredients he had just bought. You came just in time, go to a place with me first. Where are you going? Wanda asked as she put the ingredients in her hands into Evan's slightly old refrigerator. It's a very mysterious place. You'll know it when you get there. Evan plans to mark Wanda as a player and take her into the game world. Anyway, Wanda, like herself, has dropped out of school because she is an orphan and has few relatives or friends outside. In this case, it is better to live in the game world. At least the home in the game world is a mansion or a beach house. The most important thing is that according to the system settings, the player's time in the game will not be counted into the player's lifespan. Even if he stays in the game world for 100 years, the person will not age at all. Evan held Wanda's hand and smiled at her. The next step is to witness the miracle. Evan marked Wanda as a player and took her into his villa on Malibu Beach, a public area of the game world. Looking at the sudden change in the environment around her, Wanda's little mouth opened wide. When she saw the game panel appearing in her field of vision, her mouth opened even wider. Where is this place, and what is the game board-like thing that appears in my sight? This is a game world. I don't know who created it. I am just the first player here. I got an invitation here and invited you to come in. This is not just a game, it is real. In the digital world, we come in together with our bodies, and we can live here in the future. This is how Evan explained to Wanda. Otherwise, you can't tell her that this is your gold finger, that would be too unsafe. It's better for only himself to know such a secret, and Evan is not prepared to tell anyone. Wanda was surprised for a long time before she came back to her senses. Then she ran around excitedly, ran out of the villa, and came to the beach outside. The beautiful and harmonious environment made Wanda both excited and relaxed. When she thought about being able to live in a place like this in the future, her pretty face turned red with excitement. Seeing Wanda being so excited, Evan walked over with a smile and hugged her waist from behind. Let's live together from now on, Evan suggested. Wanda's face suddenly turned red. But she didn't refuse, just nodded silently. Wanda's affection for Evan, who has always taken care of her, is almost at its full value. When Wanda was invited to live together, Wanda did not reject it. Rather, she was looking forward to it. Both directions went to belong to yes. Back at the villa, Evan takes Wanda to visit the villa. A mansion is a mansion. Not only is it spacious, but even the furniture and appliances inside are luxurious, low-key, and meaningful. The villa has 3 floors, 2 above ground and an equally large basement. After visiting her new home, Wanda focused her attention on the dungeon option on the game panel. After opening it, she found that there was a dungeon called Iron Man 1 inside, which was a single-player dungeon. Evan, is this copy fun? Is it dangerous? Wanda was eager to try it. It's fun, and there are dangers, but even if you die inside, you won't really die, you will only be resurrected here. Chapter 3. Game World. Wanda entered the instance Iron Man 1. As soon as I entered it, I found that I was surrounded by a wilderness environment and saw my archenemy Tony Stark. Wanda's eyes immediately turned red, she shouted, "Tony Stark, I'm going to kill you," and then rushed forward. Then, she was randomly shot to death by the soldiers around her who were protecting Tony Stark. In a daze, Wanda found herself back in the villa on Malibu Beach in the public area. Why are you back so soon? Evan found it strange that Wanda came back within 10 seconds of entering the dungeon. There are my enemies in the copy. Wanda gritted her teeth. Oh, you mean Tony Stark? That's not the real him, that's just the plot of the game. But I just can't help it, Wanda said angrily. Evan put his arms around Wanda and comforted her. Wanda snuggled into Evan's arms, and the warmth of the other person's chest soothed her turbulent heart. After a long time, Wanda got out of Evan's arms, gritted her teeth and entered the instance again. This time, Wanda held back and stopped shouting that she was going to kill him just because she saw Tony Stark in the game. She carefully looked at her identity information in this copy. In terms of identity, she is a female soldier here. The mission requires her to follow Tony Stark. While Wanda was passing through the dungeon, Evan was sitting in the villa in the public area, practicing Lyoku Immortal Thief. To practice this, you need to eat constantly. There is no shortage of food in the game world. Food can be produced infinitely in the player's villa. You can get whatever food you want. Evan practiced while eating. Wanda, who passed the dungeon, died again. This time, she died at the hands of terrorists who wanted to kidnap Stark. Wanda was really scared when she died again, because the pain of death was too real. She didn't dare to go in and experience death, so she didn't download the dungeon again. Aren't you going to download the dungeon? Evan asked when he saw Wanda died again. Wanda shook her head repeatedly, saying she didn't want to go in anymore. Then practice with me. Come, I will teach you a practice that can keep people young forever. Evan plans to teach Wanda the Immortal Thief of Lyoku. This can make people stay young forever, and Evan hopes Wanda can stay young forever. He didn't care that he was surpassed by Wanda. Anyway, Evan would definitely redeem new training techniques in the future. Besides, maybe one day Wanda will suddenly awakening and become Scarlet Witch, and she will definitely surpass Evan by then. Since she will be surpassed sooner or later, it doesn't matter if she teaches Wanda something. Wanda's learning ability is very strong, especially regarding spiritual practice. She learns very quickly. This may be what people often call ability. Under Evan's guidance, Wanda quickly understood the Laihoku immortal thief and began to practice with evangelist. Time passed slowly in the two people's practice and daily life. Unconsciously, 4 days passed by the outside world. But they spent 4 years in the game world. In the past 4 years, although Evan and Wanda have not grown physically, their age has changed from 14 to 18, and they are considered adults. After 4 years of getting along, the relationship between the two has made great progress. They have a very good relationship and have naturally become a couple. Everything that should happen and shouldn't happen has happened. In addition to daily life, both of them spend their time in spiritual practice. After 4 years of practice, the two of them have entered the first level of the Laihoku immortal thief. As a Laihoku immortal thief, if you reach the first level of cultivation, your appearance will no longer continue to age, but your body will still continue to grow, and the extension of your lifespan will not be obvious yet. Only when you reach the second level of cultivation, your lifespan will be greatly increased, and it will not be a problem to live for 300 to 400 years. When you reach the third level of cultivation, as long as you keep practicing, you will never grow old. The first level gives Evan and Wanda extraordinary chi. When the chi is running, it can greatly improve their physical fitness, even comparable to the level of Captain America. The body's self-healing ability has also increased. Although it is far from as exaggerated as Wolverine, the recovery power is about 10 times higher than that of ordinary people. This self-healing ability can also be used on others to help them heal trauma. It's a pity that the two of them only cultivated chi, but did not use chi to form related martial arts skills. Taking martial arts novels as an analogy, the two of them are like Suju who has just been taught martial arts by Wu Yazi. They have no internal strength but do not know any martial arts. Until today, a turning point came. System prompt: Wanda broke through the first level of the Laihoku immortal thieves, and her destiny changed. The host receives a reward, 300 redemption points. Evan's eyes lit up. With the redemption points in hand, he immediately opened the system mall and began to search for suitable martial arts moves in the exercises. After some searching, the Evan Award targets the 6th form of the Navy and the transformation technique. After the magic modification of the system, these skills can be used to perform chi. Navy 6 type, from a certain thief king, its price is 100 exchange points. The transformation technique comes from a certain shadow ninja. Because it is a supernatural skill, it is relatively expensive and costs Evan 200 points. A total of 300 points, just spent. Evan exchanged the 6th form of the Navy in order to increase his combat effectiveness. The purpose of exchanging the transformation technique is to facilitate sneaking in. With this skill, Evan can relatively easily contact those who have great luck and mark them as players. However, the skills were exchanged, but only the cultivation methods were exchanged. To use them, you have to spend time practicing. According to Evan's idea, he plans to wait until the Laihoku immortal thief has reached the 3rd level, which is the Dzogchen stage of the technique, and then go out. This is safer. After all, it is Tianhu's start, and he has a safe development time, so he must continue to develop. Wanda definitely has no problem with Evan wanting to continue practicing here, because Wanda enjoys the secluded life with Evan. Although you can't see other people in this place, living here is actually not boring, because the computers in the villas in the public area can connect to the external network. Although, due to the different time flow rates inside and outside the game, it is not possible to play online games online, but there is still no problem in simply listening to music, watching movies, and playing stand-alone games online. This is how Wanda passes the time when she's bored. Before continuing to practice, Evan passed on the transformation skills and 6 postures to Wanda. He looks forward to the day when Wanda can master the art of transformation. Having a girlfriend who can transform into anyone's image is equivalent to having a woman in the world. Is it okay to be a groom every night? As a man, I understand everything. Chapter 4. Evan and Wanda continue to live in seclusion in the public areas of the game world. In the outside world, a month has passed. In the game world, 30 years have passed. Because in the game world, the body's lifespan does not expire at all, so the appearance of Evan and Wanda still remains the same as when they were 14 years old. However, they who have already learned the art of transformation can use it to make themselves look more mature. The body does not change, but the mental age is growing, which gives them a mature mind beyond their appearance. After being together for so long, the two have a deeper relationship. After practicing for so long, their cultivation levels have also improved significantly. The immortal thief of Laihoku was trained by the two of them to the third level, which is the Dzogchen stage of the technique. The great perfection stage of the Laihoku immortal thief can theoretically extend a person's lifespan indefinitely. Even if the two of them leave this game world where the body's lifespan does not expire and go to live outside, they can maintain their youthful appearance and survive forever. Dzogchen's Laihoku immortal thief makes the two of them stronger physically. When running Chi, their physical fitness is about 10 times that of Captain America. Their physical self-healing ability is already quite close to that of the movie version of Wolverine. In addition to the great perfection of the immortal thieves of Laihoku, the two of them also practiced the art of transformation and the 6 forms of great perfection. In the current time period of the Marvel world, with such strength, as long as he does not seek death by provoking big bosses like the Ancient One, it is enough to protect himself for the time being. It is worth mentioning that during this period, Wanda's strength improved and her courage became bolder, so she cleared the dungeon Iron Man 1. Through this copy, Wanda learned what kind of person Tony Stark was, and also realized that it was unreasonable for her to regard Tony Stark as an enemy. Tony Stark has never sold his company's weapons to people from other countries, only to the military. The real culprit who smuggled weapons produced by Stark Industries into Sokovia was Tony Stark's uncle Obadiah Stane, who was Wanda's real enemy. Although, these are all stories in the game and have not happened in reality yet. But as the relationship between Wanda and Evan grew deeper, Evan also told Wanda more secrets, letting Wanda know that the copy of the game here shows the reality of the future. Therefore, the more mature Wanda no longer regards Tony Stark as her enemy. Evan plans to leave the game world with Wanda, leave Sokovia, and set out to mark new players with Eagle Sauce. Only in this way can you get more redemption points. Otherwise, Wanda will always be caught collecting wool by herself, and she won't be able to collect many exchange points. After all, Wanda is not the kind of person who is willing to change the world. Compared to Wanda, Tony Stark is the one who can change the world. Only by changing Stark's fate can it affect more people, allowing Evan to gain a lot of redemption points. That night, the bedroom. Evan hugged Wanda and lay on the bed, and said to her, "We have been in the game world for 34 years, and the Laihoku immortal thief has also reached perfection, so I plan to leave the game world tomorrow and set off for Eagle Sauce. I will go wherever you go. Then it's settled." The next day, Evan and Wanda left the game world and returned to the outside world. As soon as she returned to the outside world, Wanda couldn't wait to look at the electronic calendar, which showed that only 34 days had passed in the outside world. Wanda is particularly touched by this. "We have obviously spent 34 years, but only 34 days have passed here. It feels like everything is unreal." "Don't be sad, just think about how to get to Yingjiang." "Yingjiang is not the right place. Sokovia is visa-free." "Smuggling," Wanda suggested. With the current strength of the two of them, there is absolutely no problem in crossing the sea in a moonwalk, and they can easily sneak to Eagle Sauce, but if they go through like this, they will be in trouble. Evan thought for a while and thought to himself, "Just let the undercover be undercover. When you get there, you will mark Tony Stark. As long as you get to know him well, you can ask him to help you and Wanda get legal identities." Eagle Sauce is a capitalist country, where rich people are considered bosses, and Tony Stark can definitely clear their identities. The two decided to sneak across. Their method of smuggling across the sea was to use the moon to cross the sea. With the current strength of the two of them, there will be no problem of excessive physical exertion while moonwalking in the sky, because the recovery speed of their physical strength is greater than the consumption speed of moonwalking. Put all the things you need to bring back home in the game world, and the two of you travel light. At night, the two of them walked quickly towards the direction of Yingjiang. Their speed is very fast. Although they are not as fast as fighter jets, they are comparable to Ming Dynasty airliners and can run in time zones. Due to the change in time zones, the two of them traveled at night. In only 13 hours, they had arrived in Los Angeles, the city of Eagle Sauce, where they logged in, on Malibu Beach. The two of them are familiar with the environment here, because the public areas in the game are based on the environment here. Speaking of which, Tony Stark's beach house in the movie is right here on Malibu Beach. The two fell from a high altitude and landed on the beach. Since we want to settle in Yingjiang, should we buy an apartment in Yingjiang? Wanda asked. The reason why such a question is raised is because there is no need for the two of them to buy a house outside, because they can enter the home in the game world anytime and anywhere, and living there is much safer than the outside world. It is best to have a home outside the home, because many times, when doing various registrations, you need to fill in your home address. But we don't have the money right now. The problem of money will always be solved. For example, the Hell's Kitchen gang in New York is prevalent. With our strength, we can go there to fight against the gangsters and make money. But before that, I plan to contact Tony Stark? You want to invite him to be a player? Wanda asked. Wanda no longer regards Tony Stark as her enemy, so when Evan mentioned Tony Stark, Wanda did not have any overreaction. Chapter 5. Are you going to invite Tony Stark to become a player? Yes, in this capitalist country, rich people like Tony Stark are absolute aristocrats. As long as we can draw him into the game world, we can use him to help us get a legal identity. And you also, I want to teach him a lesson, I'm right. Wanda nodded. Although she has given up her incorrect hatred for Tony Stark, after all, it was the weapons produced by Stark Industries that killed Wanda's parents and brother. How is it possible that Wanda does not have any resentment towards Tony Stark, although it will not kill him? But Wanda still wants to teach the other party a lesson. When you are teaching Stark a lesson, you can tell him exactly what happened to you. Stark is a conscientious person, and he will definitely feel guilty when the time comes. This way, asking for his help will not be easily rejected. The two conspired and decided on the next plan. At the moment, it was 3 a.m. in the Yingjiang Low City time zone, and the sun had not yet risen. Evan and Wanda used the Dzogchen level transformation technique to transform into two very small mosquitoes and flew into Tony Stark's Malibu villa. The current point in time is 2 years before the story of Iron Man 1 begins. At this point in time, Tony Stark's artificial intelligence J.A.R.V.I.S program has not yet been developed. Therefore, the security system of Tony Stark's home is not controlled by the artificial intelligence JARVIS. The security of the home, the level is not as high as in the future, but if two mosquitoes fly in, the security facilities will not be able to detect it at all. The two easily entered Stark's bedroom through the crack in the door, and saw Tony Stark and Pepper Potts on the big bed in the bedroom. Evan in mosquito form flew over and put player marks on Tony Stark and Pepper Potts respectively. After doing this, Evan and Wanda quietly left Tony Stark's villa and came to a mountain not far away. Let's go back to the game world and summon Stark to become a player. Good. The figures of the two people slowly disappeared from the place and returned to their home in the game world. Next, Evan used his GM authority to summon the marked Tony Stark and Pepper Potts into the game world. It is worth mentioning that after the player is summoned to the game world for the first time, he can choose when to enter the game world in the future. For example, at the moment, Tony Stark and his girlfriend Pepper are summoned to the game world. From then on, the two of them can enter the game world whenever they want, and leave at any time if they want. This is the same as the game world. Player login is the same as offline. Tony Stark and Virginia Pepper Potts were awakened from their deep sleep the first time they entered the game world. They found that they were not in their original bedroom, but in a very strange bedroom. The two of them were a little confused and thought they had been kidnapped. But soon, the two of them noticed the game panel in their sight. Isn't this the legendary virtual reality world? Tony Stark has a big imagination. Although no one in the world has developed the technology to allow human consciousness to enter the virtual reality world, as a science geek, Tony Stark has no shortage of understanding of this science fiction concept. In order to understand the situation, he and Pepper explored a villa that seemed to be on the beach in Malibu, but found that they could not leave the villa. It's not that the door to the outside of the villa cannot be opened, but once they want to go out, the game panel will prompt the two of them that they must complete the first copy before they can leave the villa and go to the public area for players outside. I think we might have been abducted by aliens. Pepper said uneasily. I don't think so. Since you don't understand the situation, let's follow the rules here first. The rule prompts that we must complete the copy of Iron Man 1 in the copy interface before we can leave this villa. Wait until the completed copy reaches the public area, you should be able to contact other players to get information. Little Pepper, this is a single-player dungeon, we can't form a team, and I'm not sure whether it's safe in the dungeon. Just wait here, I'll go into the dungeon and take a look. Well, please be safe. Just like that, Tony Stark entered his copy of Iron Man 1. As soon as he entered the dungeon, Tony Stark was dumbfounded because he saw another version of himself in this dungeon. He looked down at himself again and found that he was no longer himself, but playing other roles. Although Tony Stark was unhappy that this copy was using his image rights, Tony Stark decided to keep a low profile until he figured out the situation. He was not sure whether if he died in the copy, he would also die in reality. Stark has not yet realized that he did not enter the game world with his consciousness, but entered the game world with his consciousness and body. However, death in the game world does not count as true death, because players who die here can be resurrected. Stark discovered that the NPC himself was here in Afghanistan, selling Jericho missiles to the military. Stark only had an idea for the Jericho missile and had not yet begun formal research and development. Even though it was just his idea, there was no written record and he had not told anyone, but the NPC in this game himself brought this weapon to him. It was developed and the military was brought to Afghanistan to demonstrate the missile's power. This scene made Stark deep in thought. Stark is a smart man, and he came to a conclusion through analysis. Is this copy of the game showing me the future? Is this possible? Tony Stark does not believe in divination, but there is science that can explain such phenomena. For example, this game may be a masterpiece made by people in the future. If it is a masterpiece by people in the future, it can explain these unreasonable things. Next, Stark followed the NPC himself and witnessed the power of Jericho missiles with his own eyes. Then, he followed the mission instructions and got into a military vehicle with the NPC. On the way back, they were attacked by terrorists. Tony Stark and the NPC himself in the game had the same idea and the same way of escaping. Although they were both injured, they both saved their lives and were captured by terrorists and taken to their lair. After waking up, they met the terrorists, who wanted NPC Stark to make missiles, otherwise they would do whatever they wanted. NPC Stark compromised and began asking the terrorists for various tools. Privately, NPC Stark and real Stark thought of an escape plan at the same time. Their minds collided, and they soon had inspiration, and then worked together to build a steel battlesuit. The unlucky Dr. Ethan, who was also here, was responsible for the escape and rescue. Get started. During the process of building the Mark I steel battlesuit, the real Stark and NPC Stark talked a lot and confirmed one thing. The NPCs in this game themselves are no different from their own personalities, habits, and even memories, and even some small habits are no different. True Stark gradually realized that this was not just a game, it might really be explaining the future. The story that follows is not unexpected. With the joint efforts of the two Starks, the Mark I steel battlesuit was newly released. The game NPC Stark put it on, and the three of them, the real Stark and the NPC Ethan, went out together. Unfortunately, just like the movie, NPC Ethan died unfortunately. However, the real Stark escaped and ascended to heaven with NPC Stark. Chapter 6. After escaping from the cave, the two Starks saw the various weapons the terrorists had and found that many of the weapons had the words Stark Industries written on them. This silenced both of them. At the same time, something seemed to be awakened in their hearts. What is awakened may be something called responsibility. In the end, the two were found in the desert by Colonel Rhodes, who had been searching for them, and successfully left Afghanistan and returned to Eagle Sauce. After returning, NPC Stark announced the closure of the weapons production department. Real Stark was not surprised that NPC himself did this, because he thought so too. After this, the real Stark was invited by NPC Stark, and the two began to jointly develop the Mark II steel battlesuit. It is worth mentioning that each player's plot in the game copy will be different due to personal reasons. For example, the player Tony Stark has the same ability as himself in the game. When doing scientific research together, a chemical reaction can occur where 1 + 1 is greater than 2. Therefore, the NPC Stark in the game will have extreme trust in the real Stark. On the other hand, player Wanda, in this dungeon, she is really a spoiler throughout the whole process. At most, NPC Stark thinks that Wanda is extraordinary and is willing to be friends with Wanda instead of inviting Wanda to develop a steel battlesuit together. Different people will experience different content in the same dungeon, and the differences are very big. If the players are strong enough, they can also try to change the plot. Anyway, finally, Tony Stark made it through the game world's Iron Man 1 copy. Through this copy of the game, Tony Stark mastered the Mark I and Mark II steel battlesuit technology, as well as the small arc reactor technology. At the same time, Tony Stark also knew something. 2 years later, in 2009, his uncle Obadiah Stane would want to kill him. Although Tony Stark has not been able to confirm whether this incident is a fabrication of the game story or a prediction of the future, he has an extra insight. Let's move forward in time. After Tony Stark said goodbye to Pepper Potts and entered the Iron Man 1 copy, Pepper Potts, unable to leave the villa in the game, began to wait. The time flow rate of the game copy is faster than the flow rate of the game public area. Tony Stark will spend more than 2 months in the game copy, and Pepper needs to wait for Tony Stark for more than 2 days. Definitely, what I'm talking about here is game time. In fact, it's not even dawn yet in the real world. Pepper, who is waiting for Tony Stark to return, is very worried about Tony's safety and that he will be in danger in the dungeon. After waiting for 8 hours, Pepper didn't see Tony back yet. Pepper didn't wait any longer and entered the copy Iron Man 1. Entering the dungeon, Pepper saw NPC Stark and wanted to recognize him, but found that it was just an NPC. And his own identity is no longer Little Pepper, but a female soldier. Then she remembered that this was just a single-player dungeon. Even if she came in, she wouldn't be able to find Tony, so she had no choice but to follow the plot. Then, she died in a terrorist attack. The pain of death made Pepper scream in despair. Then, Pepper comes to life in the common area villa. Pepper sees that she is not dead but still alive, and realizes that there is no real dead man in this game world. In this way, the reason why Tony hasn't released the dungeon yet is not because something happened to the other party, but because the other party is still going through the plot in the dungeon. While she was relieved, she was also a little scared, because the previous death experience was so real that she almost thought she was really dead. Thank God, none of that is true. Public area time, 2 days have passed, and Tony Stark finally returns from the copy. He cleared the dungeon in one go. Tony Stark has gained a lot and matured a lot after completing the game. This more than 2-month dungeon experience was a complete transformation for Tony Stark. Seeing Tony's safe return, Pepper hugged Tony. Tony, do you know that you have been away for more than 2 days, and I am very worried about you. Tony looked at Pepper, who was concerned about him, couldn't help but smile, and hugged Pepper tightly. Don't worry, I'm fine. Rather, going through a copy of Iron Man 1 made me understand a lot. Loosening the hug, little Pepper said, I was just about to say this. I saw you hadn't come back for a long time, and I also entered the dungeon. When you were attacked by the NPC in the game, I died, and then after resurrecting here, I realized that death in the dungeon does not mean death in the true sense. So it turns out that the dead can be resurrected here. Tony Stark was stunned, and at the same time a little speechless. If he had known about this in advance, he would have tested it more in the dungeon instead of being cautious all the time, but it is not too late to know now, because there is no limit to the number of times you can enter a copy. At the same time, Stark also realized the problem of time flow here. But now Tony Stark doesn't plan to enter the dungeon again, at least not today. He plans to leave the villa and go to the public area outside the villa to see if there are other players. He and Pepper walked outside the villa. Tony walked out, but Pepper didn't. Because Pepper has not cleared Iron Man 1, he cannot leave the villa. Seeing this, Tony Stark came back and began to tell Pepper the story in that copy, telling the story guide exactly. He will do this, trusting Pepper on the one hand, and wanting Pepper to clear the first dungeon, and going to the public area outside. After little Pepper learned the relevant information, she entered the dungeon Iron Man 1 again. Anyway, you won't die in the real sense, so what are you afraid of? Just keep playing the dungeon. Seeing that Pepper had entered the instance again, Tony Stark left the villa and came to the public area outside the villa. The environment here is familiar to him because it is exactly the same as the Malibu Beach area where his home is located. From here, you can even see downtown Los Angeles. However, there are boundaries there. Players cannot leave the area here and cannot go to Los Angeles City. Tony walked here for a while and met 2 children who looked to be 13 or 14 years old. He walked over. Hi, I'm Tony Stark, are you a player too? It was Evan and Wanda that Tony Stark met. As soon as Wanda looked at Tony, she immediately rushed forward and beat him violently, making the latter scream. Chapter 7. Tony Stark, who was severely beaten, didn't understand why he was beaten. Did the other party treat him as a wild monster? Hey, little girl, if you do this again, I'm going to fight back. Ow! Just as Tony was talking, he was suddenly touched by Wanda's vaginal foot. His eyes suddenly popped out, he covered his crotch and fell to his knees. Wanda glared at Tony Stark fiercely and said word by word, "The weapons produced by your company killed my parents and brother. Tony Stark, you know, before I came here, I always regarded you as my enemy, and I never thought about killing you to avenge my parents and brothers. Fortunately, I am here and know who you are through the game copy, otherwise I will really kill you." Listening to Wanda's scolding, Tony Stark, who was originally very angry, suddenly lost his temper. After the previous copy, Tony is no longer the Tony he once was. He has become a responsible person. "I have never smuggled my company's weapons. My weapons are only sold to the Yingjiang military. I guess the weapons that caused the accidents that happened to your parents and brother must not have been fired by the Yingjiang military." Evan answered the question instead of Wanda. "Wanda and I are from Sokovia in Eastern Europe. A civil war broke out there a few years ago. A missile produced by Stark Industries fell into Wanda's home, killing her parents and brother. Since then, she has been treating you considered a murderer until this game came along." Tony Stark fell silent. After a long time, when the severe pain between his legs subsided, he stood up, looked at Wanda, and said seriously, "Stark Industries is my company, and I am somewhat responsible for this matter. I will compensate you." Just as Tony was mid-sentence, Wanda interrupted him, "I don't need your sympathy. If you really want to compensate me, do me and Evan a favor and get us legal citizenship." Tony immediately said, "If what you say is true, I will help you." Ignoring this topic, Tony began to inquire about the information here from the two of them. "About this place, we don't know who created it. We only know that the time here flows very fast. In a year here, only one day will pass by the outside world. The time flow in the dungeon is even faster. In a month in the dungeon, the public only one day will pass here. Another point is that we enter the game with the body, not the consciousness." Evan and Stark talked about the basic settings here. Outside world. The Stark family. Tony and Pepper opened their eyes, and they woke up from reality. In the real world, it's still dark. Tony. I know that the game should not be made public first. I still have some things to verify. Okay. Little Pepper nodded seriously. Tony Stark got up and came to the underground laboratory. Nowadays, Stark, who does not have artificial intelligence J.A.R.V.I.S, can only use hacking methods to investigate matters about Wanda. Although not shown too much in the movie, Tony Stark is indeed good at hacking technology. He easily hacked some information about Wanda and Evan, initially learned about their past, and confirmed that what Wanda said before was true. Out of guilt and a desire to make up for each other, Tony Stark decided to help Wanda and Evan. He used his connections to help Wanda and Evan obtain legal citizenship. After doing this, Tony's body disappeared from the place, entered the game world again, and found the two people in the public area. "I have already helped you get your identity. You only need to go to the relevant department to report the loss of your ID and you can get a replacement." Outside, after dawn. In the morning, Evan and Wanda went to the relevant departments to report the loss of their documents. After people from the relevant departments checked and found the relevant information, they issued new certificates for the two of them. With the documents, the two of them got rid of their status as black households and became legal citizens of Yingjiang. "Go to New York," Evan suggested. "It's all up to you." Wanda nodded. "Since you want to listen to me, then when you get there, I'll send you to high school." "Ah." Wanda was dumbfounded. After living in the game world for many years, her mental age is not young anymore. "Are you kidding me to ask her to go to school?" "I'm not kidding. You haven't gone to high school and are semi-literate. This is not good." "I admit that I am semi-literate, but what about you? You are the same age as me and dropped out of school at the same year as me. Aren't you the same?" "I am definitely not, because I have learned a lot of knowledge on my own." The two discussed the matter, and Wanda finally compromised. That night, Evan and Wanda left Los Angeles, crossed most of the country and arrived in New York. The two came to the Hell's Kitchen area and acted as superheroes. They used the magic of transformation to disguise different identities. They engaged in various gangsters and gangsters. In just one night, they took down more than a dozen gangsters and gained nearly 10 million yuan. USD. To have strength is to be able to do whatever you want. After dawn, the two left Hell's Kitchen and came to Queens, where they spent money to buy a villa as their home in Eagle Sauce. After that, Wanda was sent to Midtown High School in Queens by Evan and went through the admission procedures. Wanda officially enters the first grade of Midtown High School. Interestingly, her desk mate was actually Gwen Stacy. It stands to reason that Gwen Stacy should not exist in the Marvel movie universe. But to say it is absolutely impossible is not necessarily true. In those few movies of the Marvel movie universe, Gwen did not appear, but it does not mean that Gwen does not exist. The other party does exist. At most, he did not get the opportunity and was just a passerby who disappeared from everyone. Gwen Stacy, Wanda's desk mate, is a variant of Gwen from the Spider-Verse. After sending Wanda to school, Evan left Midtown High School. He didn't know that Wanda and Gwen had become classmates, otherwise he would have been very concerned about it. After all, at this point in time, little Spider-Man is still an elementary school student, and Gwen is already in high school. Perhaps this is the reason why Gwen was born at the wrong time and became a passerby? Evan left Midtown High School and returned to his new home in Queens. As soon as I entered the door, the system beeped. Ding! The system prompts that the fate of Tony Stark and Virginia Pepper Potts has slightly shifted. Congratulations to the host for getting 400 redemption points. Evan's eyes lit up. What can I exchange for 400 redemption points? Chapter 8. Today, what are Evan's shortcomings? What he lacks is long-range attack means. He searched in the Exchange Mall and found the Magic Series products. Among them, there is a product called Magic Network Contact Physique. This physique comes from D&D. Rather than saying it is a cultivation method, it is better to say it is a bloodline that can produce magic power. After the magic network modified by the system comes into contact with the body, it can convert one's own vitality into magic power. In this way, you can learn and use the D&D series of spells. Evan spent 200 redemption points to redeem the Magic Network Contact Physique. After redeeming it, Evan found that his physique had changed. He tried to transform his life force. Vitality, to put it bluntly, is cellular energy. As long as it is not excessively consumed, it will not affect your lifespan. As his life force was consumed, magic was produced in Evan's body. Next, Evan spent 200 redemption points to redeem 2 0-level spells. Level 0 spells, also known as tricks, are known for their low power and low consumption, and can be released with almost no consumption. The 2 level 0 tricks that Evan exchanged were Magician Armor and Magic Missiles. Magician Armor, use magic power to form a layer of armor invisible to the naked eye on the body's surface, which has a certain degree of physical and magical defense. Magic Missile, use magic power to condense into magic missiles and shoot them out to attack the target. The maximum attack distance is 300 meters. The rate of fire and power are comparable to bullets fired from ordinary pistols. After the exchange was completed, Evan directly entered the game world and used the extra time there to learn these 2 magics. Because it was his first time to come into contact with magic, Evan's learning efficiency was very average, mainly due to the fact that his materialistic ideas would be difficult to change in a short period of time. Fortunately, these can be overcome. Learning level 0 spells is not particularly difficult. Evan estimates that after 10 days and a half of learning, you can almost get started. Time flows very fast in the game world. When Wanda was in school, Evan spent half a month in the game world. He spent this half month in the game world to initially learn Magician Armor and Magic Missiles. It's hard to say how proficient it is, but at least it's to the extent that it can be released. Evan took the time to test the power of these 2 0-level spells and came to a conclusion. After the Magician Armor is released, it can form invisible armor on the body surface. It can last for about 3 hours. The defense is enough to withstand the bullets of ordinary firearms, but it can only withstand 10 rounds at most, and the armor will be destroyed. Break. If you switch to a powerful firearm, such as an anti-material sniper rifle, it will probably only be able to withstand 1 shot, and the armor will be broken. After all, it's just a 0-level spell, so you can't ask for too much. The power of magic missiles is just as mentioned in the introduction. The power is equivalent to the bullets fired from ordinary pistols. It is no problem against ordinary people, but it will most likely be useless against strong people. Fortunately, these are only temporary. As Evan accumulates redemption points, he can redeem more D&D system spells in the future. There are many spells in the D&D series, from 0-level tricks to legendary spells beyond the 9th level. Super 9-level spells, also known as legendary spells, are so powerful that they can make reality become as fragile as paper. For example, the alien portal that can freely travel through planes, the Ilum immortality technique that can extend people's lifespan indefinitely, the Cass's divine enlightenment technique that can be used to kill gods, and the prayer technique that can be used to alter reality. Wait, these are all representatives of legendary magic. All we can say is that the future is promising. On the other side, Tony Stark secretly launched an investigation into Stark Industries director Obadiah Stane. He has passed the game copy Iron Man 1, but Tony is still not sure whether the story in the game copy is true or false, so he needs to investigate. If it was true, if Obadiah was really secretly smuggling company weapons and planning to murder him secretly, he would send Obadiah to prison at all costs. He used technical means to hack into Obadiah's mobile phone and monitor the other party's communications. With Tony Stark's ability, it won't be long before he can investigate the truth. While monitoring the communication, Tony Stark began to develop the artificial intelligence J.A.R.V.I.S and produce the Mark II steel battlesuit. The technology was already made and could be produced directly, which would not take long. There is no doubt that Tony Stark's destiny is changing. A few days later, Tony finally caught Obadiah Stane's criminal background and confirmed that the other party was indeed a guy with evil intentions just like the copy in the game. Tony Stark used the evidence he investigated to sue Obadiah Stane in court and successfully sent the other party to court. After Obadiah was imprisoned, Tony Stark made Pepper Potts president of Stark Industries while he continued to develop the steel battlesuit. A few more days passed. Iron Man made his debut. As soon as he debuted, he went out in a steel battlesuit to go out and do a lot of things to save people in need. Iron Man's appearance was monitored by the military and S.H.I.E.L.D satellites and radars. Everyone wants to know who Iron Man is. Tony Stark is a very high-profile guy. In a media interview, he announced that he was Iron Man, which immediately aroused public opinion. Chapter 9. Evening. Queen's house. Evan sat on the sofa with Wanda's knees on his thighs, watching the TV news reports about Tony Stark. However, Evan's mind is not on the TV news. He plans to upgrade his version of the game world, adding new copies and new public areas. This time he plans to add 2 new copies, namely Iron Man 2 and Captain Marvel 1. As for the new public area, Evan plans to copy the environment of the Hawaiian Islands and add NPCs to it, so that you can experience a Hawaiian vacation in the game world. After making the decision, he issued an announcement to all players through GM Authority. At the same time, every player, both in and out of the game, remembered this announcement. The Marvel superhero game will undergo upgrade maintenance, and players will not be able to log into the game during this period. This upgrade maintenance will last for 3 days. The update content of this version is as follows: 1. Open new copies Iron Man 2, Captain Marvel 1 2. Open a new public area, the Hawaiian Islands. There are many NPCs in this area and it is a resort area. 3. Fix some bugs. Hey, the game is actually going to update content. Wanda said in surprise. Yes, when we log into the game next time, we can go on vacation to the Hawaiian Islands in the game world. Evan said with a smile. I guess you just want to see beautiful women in swimsuits. I just want to see you. Since your answer satisfies me, I will reluctantly prepare a few more swimsuits and show them to you when the time comes. Los Angeles, Malibu Beach, Stark's Villa. Tony Stark and Pepper Potts also heard the system announcement. Tony complained, it's finally time to update. I'm almost tired of the previous content. I'm more concerned about whether the 2 new copies will also show the future. Pepper is very concerned about this. The story of Iron Man 2 is obviously still a story with you as the protagonist. Then definitely, I am Tony Stark, and I am the protagonist wherever I go. Tony Stark was proud of himself. Pepper rolled her eyes at Tony and then said, Who is Captain Marvel? I've never heard of him. Is he a superhero who will be born in the future? We will know when the game maintenance is over. Tony Stark expressed his expectations. By the way, there are only 4 players in this game so far. It should be considered a closed beta. I don't know when the closed beta and public beta will be, otherwise it will be too deserted. Evan's update to the Marvel superhero only took 2 hours to complete. However, since it was stated in the announcement that it would be maintained for 3 days, he did not start the game in advance. After all, you can't always stay in the game world, life in the real world also needs to be maintained. At night, after a sport of flying up and down, flying up and down, and flying up and down, the two chatted. Evan, I have a friend in school and I would like to invite her to join the Marvel superhero game and become a player. Who? Her name is Gwen Stacy, she is my desk mate. After hearing about Gwen, Evan was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that there was Gwen in the Marvel movie universe. How fresh is this? Since Gwen exists, he must change the other party's fate in order to gain exchange points. There is no role for Gwen in the Marvel movie universe, but if Gwen becomes a superhero, wouldn't she have a role? This can be regarded as changing the fate of the other party. Next time you bring her to your house, I'll mark her. The next day was Saturday, so Wanda didn't have to go to school. She called Gwen and invited her to come to her home. Gwen said she would be there soon. Because they both live in Queens and their homes are not far away, it didn't take long for Gwen to arrive at Evan and Wanda's home. Wanda introduced Evan and Gwen to each other. Gwen was very surprised to learn that Wanda had a boyfriend and that the two were living together. She looked at Evan with a pair of curious eyes. Evan is also observing Gwen. This Gwen looks exactly like the Gwen in the Spider-Man movie. She is very beautiful, has a good figure, and has a nice smile, just like a sweetheart. The two shook hands and were considered acquainted. By the way, while shaking hands, Evan marked Gwen as a player. After that, Wanda and Gwen talked about the Marvel superhero game, which stunned Gwen. Are you sure you're not kidding me? That game world or something sounds too sci-fi. Gwen didn't quite believe it. It's true. That game is very fun. Let me tell you, time flows very fast in the game. A year in the game will only pass by one day in the outside world. Don't look at me and Evan, we look the same age as you. In fact, we have been living in the game world for many years. However, the game is currently under maintenance, and the maintenance will not end until 2 days later. Then I will take you in together. Wanda took Gwen's hand and sat on the sofa, and said happily. According to what you said, if we enter that game world with our bodies, no matter how long we spend in it, we will not age, right? That's right, if you stay in it, you can stay young forever. Moreover, in this game update, the Hawaiian Islands will appear, and then we can go on vacation in the game. Because time flows very fast in it, after we go to school on weekdays, you could go in there at night and live out your life for months. I have some expectations. Gwen did have expectations. However, as a top student, Gwen was more curious about how the magical game came about than her expectations. She also asked this question. I don't know where that game came from, I just know that Evan and I were the first players there. Are there many players? Not many, there are only 4 so far. Besides me and Evan, there are 2 others, namely Tony Stark and the other party's girlfriend. Ah, you mean Iron Man? Gwen was shocked. Recently, there has been a lot of news about Tony Stark being Iron Man. Everyone knows what should be known and what should not be known, and Gwen is definitely no exception. Chapter 10. The maintenance of the game finally ended at midnight on the 3rd day. At this point in time, Marvel superhero game players are basically asleep in reality. But as soon as the game was updated and maintained, all players were forced to go online. As soon as they logged into the game, the sleeping people were awakened by the login process and found themselves in their respective villas in the public area of the game world, Malibu Beach. Pepper Potts and Stark are in a villa. Evan and Wanda are in a villa. New player Gwen is alone in a villa. As a new player, Gwen didn't realize that she had entered the game until she noticed that the game panel appeared in her field of vision, and then she realized that she might have entered the Marvel superhero that Wanda told her about. In the game, everything Wanda said is true. This is incredible. Gwen murmured to herself, then stood up excitedly, and began to look around the villa where she was, and found that it was actually a mansion that belonged exclusively to her. She was very excited. When she wanted to leave the villa, she was prompted by the game system that she needed to complete the first dungeon in the dungeon list before she could leave. So she clicked on the dungeon option on the game panel and entered the dungeon list. There are 3 copies in the copy list, namely, Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and Captain Marvel 1. A copy of Iron Man? Is it the story of Tony Stark? After Gwen finished muttering to herself, she clicked to enter the copy Iron Man 1. Tony Stark and Pepper Potts realized that they had entered the game again, so they got dressed and checked the game board. In the game panel, the public area teleport option appears. After clicking it, you can find 2 teleport points. The first is Malibu Beach and the second is the Hawaiian Islands. Among them, the Hawaiian Islands are the new public area of the game world. Let's go to the Hawaiian Islands for vacation, Pepper said expectantly. There is no hurry about vacation. We can stay in the game for several months before dawn outside. I want to clear the copies of Iron Man 2 and Captain Marvel 1 first, Tony Stark said. Okay, let's make a copy first. The two clicked on the dungeon and found that Iron Man 2 was no longer a single-player dungeon, but a dungeon that could be entered in teams with other players. Up to 2 people could enter at a time. Tony Stark and Pepper Potts team up and enter Iron Man 2 together. The identities of the 2 people this time are different from those in the first film. In other words, the interpersonal relationships from the previous copy cannot be inherited, and everything has to start over. Fortunately, this is not an RPG game that requires leveling up, so it doesn't matter if you have to start over. The place where the 2 appeared was the Monaco circuit in the Iron Man 2 copy world, and the 2 of them were sitting in the audience here. They discovered that in another auditorium, several people could be seen, including NPC Little Pepper, NPC Happy, and a strange woman with burgundy hair who was with them. There is actually NPC Happy, but who is that red-haired woman? Little Pepper asked curiously. With her appearance and figure, I think she must be my newly recruited assistant. His words made Pepper roll her eyes angrily. Game world, public area, Malibu Beach, in Evan and Wanda's villa. After the 2 logged into the game, Wanda took Evan and said they were going to the public area in the Hawaiian Islands for a vacation. Evan definitely had no objection, and the 2 set off together and arrived at the public area, the Hawaiian Islands. This place, exactly like the real Hawaiian Islands, is a resort with an extremely beautiful environment. Different from the public area Malibu Beach, there are many NPCs here, such as a lot of bikini girls, which looks like a beach bathing atmosphere. Wanda went to the changing room over there and changed into a bikini. Evan also changed into swimming trunks. Looking at Wanda in bikini, Evan's eyes were bright. Does it look good? Wanda was not afraid of being looked at by Evan, and showed off her good figure to the man openly. It looks good, Evan said honestly. Wanda stepped forward with a smile, took Evan's arm, and the 2 of them went to sit on the beach chairs under an empty parasol not far away. As soon as they sat down, someone brought them cold drinks and fruits. Everything here is free. You can play whatever you want and eat whatever you want. For players, it is really a great vacation spot. The 2 spent a week playing in the public area, Hawaiian Islands. A week later, Gwen Stacy, who finally cleared Iron Man 1, returned to her villa in the game. The reason why it took a week to clear the level was because Gwen died many times in the dungeon. It was not until he learned Go's way without a teacher that he quietly passed the Iron Man 1 dungeon for Go. Gwen's secret to clearing the border is Go. Wherever there is danger, she will not be there. In this way, although you won't be exposed to much of the plot, the advantage is that you can pass the level safely. In fact, death in the dungeon is just like real death, it is too painful. If you are directly hit in the head by an enemy, you will die instantly. But if you are attacked and still die, the pain will be real. After clearing the first dungeon, Gwen found that she could leave the villa. She left the villa and came to the public area outside the villa. She found that the public area was deserted and there was not a single player in sight. So she clicked on the friend function in the player panel, entered Wanda and Evan's names, and added them as friends. Evan and Wanda, who were on vacation in the Hawaiian Islands in the public area, received Gwen's friend request and clicked to agree. Seeing that someone was added, Gwen immediately contacted the 2 of them. I cleared the first dungeon and left the villa. Where are you? We are on vacation in the public area, the Hawaiian Islands. You can come here through the teleportation function on the panel. Okay, I'll be there soon. 10 minutes later, Gwen came to the public area, Hawaiian Islands, and found Evan and Wanda having lunch in a restaurant. Seeing Gwen coming, Wanda said happily, "You're here, Evan and I have been here for a week, just waiting for you." A week? Gwen wondered. The time flow in the dungeon world is faster than the time flow in the public area. 1 month in the dungeon will only pass 1 day in the public area. Evan explained. So that's it. Gwen suddenly realized, everything here is too real. There is no falsehood at all. Is this really a game world? I was surprised at first, but over time I got used to it. After lunch, Evan, Wanda, and Gwen walked around the Hawaiian Islands, chatting while walking. Tony Stark and Pepper Potts spent a week in the public area and finally cleared Iron Man 2. The main reason why it took so long was that Tony Stark was not in a hurry to complete the level, but wandered around in the game dungeon, constantly collecting information other than the main story of the dungeon, and did not touch the main story, resulting in too many dungeon tasks. It failed several times and the copy was restarted multiple times. This is not a waste of time, at least he does know more information. For example, information about S.H.I.E.L.D, information about Natalie Richman being a S.H.I.E.L.D agent and her true identity being Black Widow Natasha Romanoff. For another example, it was discovered that S.H.I.E.L.D agent Phil Coulson's idol is Captain America. He also learned that his father was the founder of S.H.I.E.L.D. Finally, we learned from the main plot that over in Siberia, there is a man named Ivan Vanko who also masters the technology of small arc reactor. This last piece of information concerned Tony Stark. He didn't want his small reactor technology to leak out, so he decided to investigate the whereabouts of Ivan Vanko and kill him after leaving the game. Anyway, the other party also plans to kill him. Tony Stark doesn't have the slightest psychological burden to do something dirty to the other party. Chapter 11. Thanks to the sealed core at Fang for the 1000 VIP point reward, Tony Stark, who cleared the Iron Man 2 copy, clicked on the Captain Marvel 1 copy. Tony Stark has never heard of Captain Marvel and doesn't know who he is. He guessed that the other person might be a superhero who would appear in the future. This copy is a single-player copy. Unable to team up with Pepper Potts anymore, Stark decided to enter alone. But Pepper didn't want to continue downloading the dungeon. Seeing that Stark was still planning to download the dungeon, she said, "You can enter the dungeon yourself. I'm going to the public area, the Hawaiian Islands, for a vacation first. When I clear this dungeon, I'll look for you over there." Tony Stark nodded, then disappeared and entered the dungeon. Captain Marvel copy. Tony Stark discovered that the time point in this copy was not modern, but 1995 of the last century. He also discovered that the role he played was a S.H.I.E.L.D agent, his boss was NPC Nick Fury, and his partner was NPC Philip J. Phil Coulson. In this capacity, Stark experiences the story of Captain Marvel 1. As the plot of the dungeon progressed, Tony Stark was shocked. There were actually aliens in this dungeon story. In the last century, aliens visited the Earth. S.H.I.E.L.D's Nick Fury and Phil Coulson are actually involved. Tony Stark was immediately interested and seriously participated in the dungeon story, wanting to learn more about alien intelligence. He learned a lot of information about the Kree Empire and the Skrull Empire from the mouth of the blonde woman who called herself a Kree Space Marine. In the second half of the plot, he discovered that the blonde woman who called herself a Kree Space Marine was actually an Earthling. She was only taken away and brainwashed by aliens during the Pegasus project, so she forgot that she was an Earthling. Identity of. At the end of the dungeon, NPC Carol Danvers burst into the protagonist's aura, her strength soared, and she drove Ronan the Accuser's fleet out of the solar system alone. Tony Stark was deeply shocked. Can you believe that a man is chasing a Starfleet blaster? Is this really something a human can do? What a joke. Ever since Tony Stark became Iron Man, he has always considered himself to be very strong, calling himself the strongest superhero on Earth. But after seeing the strength of Captain Marvel Carol Danvers, he no longer dared to think so. At the end of the copy story, Stark saw Carol Danvers giving Nick Fury a pager, which could contact Carol Danvers, which made Tony Stark realize that S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury, he actually had such a big trump card. Originally, Tony Stark looked down upon S.H.I.E.L.D. He thought that their technological capabilities were not as good as his own, they were bureaucratic, and they were always being awesome, but he no longer thinks that way. Old silver coin Nick Fury has a strong trump card. Who knows if the opponent's trump card is only Carol Danvers, but maybe there are other trump cards. For example, those Skrulls who can change form seem to have stayed in the solar system. Tony Stark has reason to believe that Nick Fury must still be in contact with those Skrulls. Tony Stark learned many secrets through this copy, and his expression was a little solemn. He felt that he could not stop now and should upgrade his steel battlesuit, otherwise he would be very passive when aliens invaded the Earth again in the future. He, Tony Stark, is inspired to be the one who turns the tide in a crisis, instead of hiding behind others. After clearing the dungeon, Tony Stark returned to the common area villa and fell into deep thought. He was thinking about whether to move his private laboratory to the game world. Although things in the game world cannot be taken out, things brought in from the outside can be processed and then taken out. He can completely build a laboratory in the game, bring in materials from the outside world, use the laboratory in the game to process them into a steel battlesuit, and finally use them. There is an advantage to doing this. Time flows very fast in the game world. Here, he will have enough time for scientific research and can produce results faster. As for doing scientific research in the game, will you expose your skills to the masterminds behind the game? Tony feels that the mastermind behind the creation of this game can see the future, and everyone must know every secret in the world. There is no need to hide the steel battlesuit technology from others, because he knows very well, the people behind the scenes definitely look down on the steel battlesuit technology. After thinking for a moment, Tony Stark made a decision. Tony did not go to the public area, Hawaiian Island, to meet Pepper. Instead, he planned to renovate the villa on the public area, Malibu Beach, and dug a space underground to use as a laboratory. As for how to dig, Tony Stark begins to communicate with the game system. Game system, I know you must be intelligent, and I know you can definitely hear what I say. I want to set up a laboratory under my villa to develop a new steel battlesuit. I hope you can help. Tony Stark's behavior seemed like he was talking to the air. Evan, who was on vacation in the Hawaiian Islands in the public area, received a notification from the system. The system told him that Stark wanted to move the laboratory into the game world. Evan was stunned for a moment, then agreed immediately. Evan used the game editor to renovate Tony Stark's villa in the public area of the Hawaiian Islands. A system prompt sounded in Tony Stark's ear, request to be accepted. The villa began to shake. After a few seconds, the vibration stops. Tony Stark discovered that there was a large basement underneath his villa. And it's not just a basement, the game system also kindly helped him turn this place into a fully equipped laboratory, a perfect replica of his laboratory outside. System prompt, Tony Stark's fate has shifted significantly, and the host will be specially rewarded with 1,000 redemption points. Evan, who was playing beach volleyball with Wanda, Gwen, and Pepper, suddenly heard a system prompt and his eyes lit up. You guys play first, I'm going to take a rest. Evan said to a few people and went to lie down on a beach chair nearby. Beach volleyball was originally only played by 4 people, but because Evan was missing, the 3 girls called a beautiful NPC in a swimsuit from the side to participate in the beach volleyball game with several people in order to continue the game. Evan sat on a beach chair under a parasol and looked at the beauties in bikinis playing beach volleyball while clicking on the D&D system magic page in the system wall, ready to redeem new magic knowledge. Currently, Evan only masters 2 0-level spells, namely Magician Armor and Magic Missile. Now, he has 1,000 redemption points and is ready to redeem them for higher level magic. Chapter 12. The magic in the D&D series is priced based on the number of rings. The unit price of a 0-level spell is 100 redemption points. The unit price of a level 1 spell is 200 redemption points. The unit price of a 2-level spell is 300 redemption points. Evan thought for a moment and decided to exchange 3 0-level spells, 1 1-level spell, and 1 2-level spell for exactly 1,000 redemption points. The spells he redeemed are as follows: Level 0 spells, Pocket of Darkness, Invisible Servant, Understanding Languages. Level 1 spell, Defeat the Enemy First. Second level spell, Blazing Fireball. Dark Pocket, use magic power to drive shadows to form a dimensional pocket for storage. Invisible Servant, create an invisible servant to serve yourself. The servant's image is humanoid, and its physical quality is equivalent to that of an average adult. Language Proficiency, overcome language barriers and automatically master the target language. Defeat the enemy first, predict the target's next actions. Blazing Fireball, create a large fireball with a diameter of 3 meters, rolling on the ground, crushing and burning enemies. There are 5 spells in total, leaving aside the 0-level spells. Destroy the enemy first is an insight skill that can discern the enemy's next move and create favorable conditions for yourself. Blazing Fireball is a long-range attack spell. It is very powerful and can easily melt steel. It is also very exciting to roll when released. It can also be controlled by the magician to turn in the middle, and it can last for about 1 minute after being released. Armed with the knowledge of magic, Evan immediately started learning. After 1 hour, Wanda, Gwen, Pepper, and others were tired of playing and walked back under the umbrella. Wanda, let me teach you a magic. Try to see if you can learn it. Evan was going to teach Wanda magic. I just don't know if Wanda can learn the magic of the D&D system without being exposed to the magic network. Wanda has the qualifications of a witch and is a destined Scarlet Witch. Although she does not have the power of awakening, in theory, she should be able to learn it. But Evan isn't sure about that. Evan took out a notebook and a pen out of thin air, wrote the magic missile practice method in it, and then handed the notebook to Wanda. Wanda was very curious about things like magic, so she took it and started to look through it. Chili Pepper and Gwen on the side came over curiously and looked at the knowledge recorded in the notebook. In the eyes of the two women, magic sounds a bit magical and does not seem like something that can exist in reality. Evan is not afraid of Gwen and Pepper secretly learning his magic. They cannot learn it without the physical contact of the magic net. Evan, you can actually do magic? Gwen asked Evan, who was standing aside. Definitely. I don't believe it, unless you can put on a show. Evan shook his head. He was too lazy to perform. Magic implemented mysticism. How could he perform it for others casually? TCH, I think this is fake. I don't believe that magic really exists in the world. Gwen curled her lips, but even though she said this, she still looked at the contents of the notebook in Wanda's hand seriously, because the knowledge recorded on it was quite new to her. Magic Missile is a 0-level spell, and it is not difficult to learn. Wanda's magic ability is better than Evan's, so she can probably learn it quickly, if she can really learn it. While Wanda was studying, she was making gestures with her hands, trying to mobilize the chi in her body to act as magic power, and trying to form magic missiles. Chi and magic power are not the same thing. Using chi as magic power to perform magic is not professional, and normal people must not do it like this. But Wanda is not a normal person, she is a Scarlet Witch who has not yet awakened her powers. Although Wanda's power has not yet awakened, the chi she cultivated with Lyoku Immortal Thief was affected by her physique and took on some magical qualities. Although this quality is very weak, it is enough to give Wanda's chi magical properties and can be used as magic power to perform magic. This is a plugin that belongs exclusively to Wanda and is not the envy of others. Wanda, who kept making gestures with her hands, actually condensed a magic missile that glowed with dark red light under the ghostly gazes of Pepper and Gwen. The missile was launched with a whoosh and instantly hit the beach 20 meters away, creating a hole as big as a bowl in the ground. Pepper and Gwen were stunned. Does magic really exist? Evan was also shocked, but he was shocked in a different way from Pepper and Gwen. Instead, he was shocked by Wanda's learning speed. It took Evan a while to learn magic missiles. On the other hand, Wanda just browsed through the magic-related knowledge and made a few random gestures to get started with this magic. Is this scientific? Is this magic? This is so FG cheating. Well, people are really cheating. Evan, who was comparing magic ability with Wanda, felt that there must be something wrong with his brain. Successful. Wanda said in surprise. Well, your ability is very good, even better than mine. Evan sighed. Can I learn this magic? Gwen no longer refused, she also wanted to learn magic. You can't learn it. If you don't believe it, you can try it. Evan shook his head. The two of them really wanted to give it a try. Gwen and Pepper wrote down the contents of the diary and then began to try. The result of the attempt was to no avail. Evan took back the notebook, wrote down the knowledge about magician armor, and handed it to Wanda. I wrote another one, this time it's about protection. You can learn from it too. Yet. Wanda started to study. 10 minutes later, Wanda successfully released magician armor. In the game, time flies. In the next few months, while on vacation with Wanda and others, Evan learned the Dark Pocket, Invisible Servant, Language Proficiency, Enemy Defeating Machine, and Blazing Fireball. He definitely taught Wanda all of this magic as well. Wanda also learned these magics and mastered them. Chapter 13. Thanks to Bill_Cipher for his monthly vote, months have passed in the game world, but only hours have passed in the real world. Players in the game can check the outside time through the game panel to ensure that they will not miss anything. Now, in the real world, it's dawn. Because it was already 6 o'clock in the morning, everyone stopped staying in the game world and went offline one after another. After having breakfast with Evan, Wanda went out to get on the school bus and went to Midtown High School. Evan also went out. He took a taxi to Washington, D.C., to recruit new players. On the other side, Pepper, who just came off the line, told Tony Stark, who also just came off the line, about the fact that Evan and Wanda can do magic. This aroused Tony Stark's curiosity. The magic you are talking about is the kind of magic that can only be used in the game, or the magic that can also be used in reality. I don't know if it can be used in reality, but they can indeed be used in the game world. Pepper said. Let's ask them next time we see them. Zhongcheng High School, in a classroom. Wanda, you must be very powerful in reality, right? Gwen asked Wanda. Why do you ask? Because you were very powerful in the game. Gwen said. During those few months in the game world, Gwen not only vacationed in the public area, the Hawaiian Islands, but she also teamed up with Wanda to enter the storyline of Iron Man 2. In that dungeon, Gwen saw Wanda's great strength. Not only could the opponent use magic, but his physical fitness was also exaggerated. For example, reinforced concrete walls could be smashed by Wanda's punch, and he could also use magic that was invisible to the naked eye. Moving at high speed, walking through the air with your feet, these are not things that ordinary people can do. There is no difference between a player's physical fitness in the Marvel superhero game and his physical fitness in the real world. Whatever you can do in reality, you can do in the game. On the contrary, what you can do in the game also means what you can do in reality. Gwen has reason to believe that Wanda, who is so powerful in the game, must also be very powerful in reality. Even Gwen is thinking that the magic Wanda has used in the game world may be real and can be used in reality. Gwen wants to know why Wanda is so powerful, and if possible, she wants to be like Wanda. The reason why I am great is because Evan taught me Kung Fu. Wanda told the truth. The kind of Kung Fu from the East. Can I learn? Gwen asked expectantly. You have to ask Evan. I won't pass on my Kung Fu to others without his permission. I'll ask him when I enter the game tonight. Gwen began to look forward to it. Evan took a taxi to Washington, D.C. The S.H.I.E.L.D headquarters is located on an island in the middle of a lake in Washington, D.C. The official name of the island is Theodore Roosevelt Island. There is a bridge connecting the island. Evan came here, walked into an alley, activated his transformation technique, turned himself into a sparrow, flew to the S.H.I.E.L.D headquarters, and landed on a tree here, waiting for the target. Not long after, he saw Commander Maria Hill who came to work here. Evan in the form of a sparrow flew over, lightly touched the opponent's shoulder, and marked him as a player. Maria Hill, who was touched, turned around in confusion and found that it was a sparrow and had flown away. She didn't pay much attention and turned around and walked into S.H.I.E.L.D. Evan, in sparrow form, continues to wait nearby. A few minutes passed, and he waited for Nick Fury, who also came to work here. The same old routine started. Nick Fury was also tagged as a player. After that, Evan successively tagged Natasha Romanoff, Sharon Carter, and Phil Coulson. Evan did not wait for Hawkeye Clint Barton, Barbara Morse, and Melinda May. They should be performing other tasks outside. After marking these people, Evan flew away from S.H.I.E.L.D. Just waiting for tonight, he will summon Maria Hill, Nick Fury, Phil Coulson, Natasha Romanoff, Sharon, and others and let them enter the game world. 6 p.m. Wanda comes home from school. When Evan saw her coming back, he logged into the game world with her. Life in the game world will be much more harmonious than in the real world, and they all like to stay in it and live together. Gwen, who also comes home from school, cannot enter the game whenever she wants like Evan and Wanda. Otherwise, her parents will be worried about her if she disappears suddenly, so she has to finish dinner first and then enter the game when she goes to bed at night. So that parents will not find out that they have disappeared. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Gwen logged into the game world. At the same time, Maria Hill, Nick Fury, Phil Coulson, Natasha Romanoff, and Sharon were summoned to the game world by Evan. They all appeared in different villas in the common area Malibu Beach. When they first arrived here, they were very alert and vigilant. They discovered that a game panel appeared in their field of vision. As agents, this group of people are all suspicious. When you come to an unfamiliar place out of nowhere and see unfamiliar things, you will be extremely vigilant and automatically come up with various conspiracy theories. For example, you suspect that you have been abducted by aliens. When they couldn't figure out the situation, they all chose the same plan, which was to explore information. They were about to leave their respective spawn point villas and go to the public area to inquire about other players. As a result, they found that they could not leave the villa, and the game system prompted them that they needed to complete the first copy before they could go out. Click on the copy list and find that there are 3 copies in it, Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and Captain Marvel 1. When Nick Fury and Phil Coulson saw Captain Marvel 1 in the copy list, their pupil shrank. As for Maria, Sharon, and Natasha Romanoff, they don't know Captain Marvel, so they care more about the two copies of Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2. They speculate that this may be a story about Tony Stark, because Tony Stark is Iron Man. Although several people were in different villas and could not meet or contact each other for the time being, they entered the copy Iron Man 1 by chance. It's not that they don't want to enter the later dungeons, but that the dungeons are in order. Only by clearing the previous dungeon can you enter the later dungeons. They are all S.H.I.E.L.D agents, very talented. In the copy of Iron Man 1, they met the NPC version of Tony Stark. Although they were surprised in their hearts, their faces remained unchanged. They played their roles perfectly, and no one could tell that they were suspicious. Because they don't know whether death in the game will actually lead to death, they will be cautious until they really understand what's going on here. As agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, they have investigated Tony Stark and know some of his experiences, but the stories in the copy are unfamiliar to everyone. Also, the year in the copy is wrong. It's 2007 now, but the time in the copy is 2009. They were very good at intelligence analysis and came to a conclusion. Maybe Tony Stark also became a player here and entered this instance, which led to the early birth of Iron Man. Instead of being like in the copy, it was only born in 2009. It took everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D a while to clear the dungeon Iron Man 1. They all cleared it in one go. It should be said that he is worthy of being a talent from S.H.I.E.L.D. He is just different from ordinary players. Chapter 14. After clearing the S.H.I.E.L.D instance of Iron Man 1, everyone left their villas and came to the public area outside the villa, where they met each other. They would get together and start gathering intelligence. Tell me what you think of this place and the copy of Iron Man. Nick Fury, S.H.I.E.L.D. director, spoke first. The NPC Tony Stark in the dungeon is exactly the same as the Tony Stark in reality, both in terms of behavior and style of dealing with people. However, the experiences of the two becoming Iron Man are different, and the time points are also different. The NPC in the dungeon is also different. Tony Stark became Iron Man in 2009. Based on this, I reasoned that maybe Tony Stark, like us, has also become a player here. He has also passed the Iron Man 1 copy. This may be because he was ahead of schedule. Reasons to become Iron Man. Maria Hill was the first to express her opinion. I agree with Commander Hill's analysis. Not long ago, Tony sued Obadiah Stane, the director of Stark Industries. I think the reason why this happened is because Tony became a player here. Through the copy story, he knew what kind of person Obadiah Stane was. Later, he must have confirmed the authenticity of the future interpretation of the copy story before suing the other party. Phil Coulson followed up the analysis. Currently we don't know whose masterpiece this game is, but judging from the fact that the copy can show the future, the person behind the scenes must not be simple. The other party may be a person from the future. If it is a person from the future, it can explain some things, is Sharon's analysis. I wonder if you have noticed that the real-world time is displayed on the game panel. We have spent nearly 3 months in a copy of Iron Man 1, but not even half an hour has passed in the real world. And when we are in the public area of the game, the time flow rate in the real world is different. After my calculations, I came to a conclusion. That is, one day in the real world will be able to pass a year in the public area of the game world. And for one day in the public area, 30 days can pass in the dungeon world. This is the analysis of Natasha Romanoff. Nick Fury was very satisfied with his subordinate's analysis. He nodded, very good, let's continue to collect intelligence. A few people were just about to leave when they discovered 3 young people walking together on the beach not far away. Several people looked at each other and then walked over in unison. The 3 young people were none other than Evan, Wanda, and Gwen. When the 3 of them saw 5 adults walking towards them, they all stopped and looked at them. They look a bit familiar, are they also players? Gwen asked Evan and Wanda. Probably so. Evan said. Evan is still pretending. He was the one who brought those people in, but he pretends that he knows nothing. Hey, hello, we are new here, can you tell us about this place? Natasha Romanoff greeted the 3 of them with a friendly smile. Black Widow, Phil Coulson, S.H.I.E.L.D. director. I've seen you in the copy of Iron Man. Did you run away from the copy? Gwen asked curiously. Everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D saw that they knew Black Widow, Phil Coulson, and director Nick Fury, but they were not too surprised. After all, the copy in this game is too spoilery. We come from reality, and like you, we are players. Is there anything you want to tell us about this place? Natasha Romanoff asked. What do you want to know? Gwen asked. For example, what is this place and who created it? We don't know who created this place, we just came here earlier than you and became players. Evan answered Natasha Romanoff's question. The S.H.I.E.L.D people asked the three more questions. Through communication, they had a general understanding of this place. Fury, Maria, and Phil Coulson left. They planned to continue making copies and learn about future intelligence through the copies. Natasha Romanoff and Sharon stayed with Evan and others and continued to obtain information from several people. Let's go to the Hawaiian Islands in the public area. Evan suggested. No one had any objections. Everyone teleported to the public area, Hawaiian Islands, and found a cold drink shop to sit down and chat. After chatting for a quarter of an hour, Evan felt helpless when he saw the two people testing him and Wanda Gwen in various ways, so he simply made it clear. You are agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I guess you must want to know more if you follow us. Just ask whatever you want. There is no need to test. Then I'll ask directly. I want to know your identities in reality. Natasha Romanoff didn't pretend to be pretentious, she just asked directly. Wanda and I are neighbors and we are also from Sokovia, Eastern Europe. A few years ago, civil war broke out in Sokovia, and our relatives all died in that civil strife. Since then, we have been dependent on each other. When we were 14 years old, we became players of the Marvel superhero game. After that, we lived in the game world for a long time, because the houses here are bigger and better than our houses outside, and there is unlimited food supply. Wanda and I have lived in this place for a total of 34 years. These words made Natasha Romanoff and Sharon speechless. Who would have imagined that Evan and Wanda, who looked only 14 or 15 years old, had lived in the game world for 34 years? Doesn't this mean that the mental age of the two people far exceeds their physical age? After living in the game world for 34 years, Wanda and I temporarily left the game world. Because the environment in Sokovia was not good, Wanda and I smuggled into Eagle Sauce, and with the help of Mr. Stark, we had a legal Eagle citizenship of Jong country. Evan said this and was interrupted by Natasha Romanoff. Wait, you haven't said how you met Tony Stark. Then let's start with another thing, because there is civil strife in Sokovia, and the weapons used by the reactionaries are produced by Stark Industries. The death of Wanda's relatives was caused by a missile produced by Stark Industries falling on her home, killing her parents and brother. For a long time after that, Wanda regarded Tony Stark as her enemy and wanted to kill him to avenge her family. It wasn't until we entered the game world and passed the Iron Man copy that we learned what kind of person Tony Stark was. Wanda no longer regards Tony Stark as a murderer, but she wants to teach him a lesson. We went to Eagle Sauce, found Tony Stark first, and you can probably guess the rest of the story. Evan said. You can probably guess it. Natasha Romanoff nodded. Chapter 15. With our citizenship, Wanda and I went to New York and bought an apartment in Queens as our home. After that, I suggested that Wanda go to school and complete her studies. Wanda became a student at Midtown High School. And I, because I have been studying in the game world for more than 30 years and have mastered enough knowledge, so I did not follow Wanda to school, but continued to stay in the game world, connect to the outside world through the internet, and learn and delve into some knowledge that interests me, Evan said. Where's Gwen? Natasha Romanoff asked again. Gwen was the first friend Wanda met at Midtown High School. Gwen's father is New York Police Department Commissioner George Stacy. Wanda told Gwen about that game. She wanted to invite Gwen to become a player of that game, so she told me about it. When I was playing a dungeon in the game, I happened to receive an invitation letter from a new player. I used that invitation letter on Gwen. In this way, Gwen also became a player. This is our story. Most of the content of the story told by Evan is true and can withstand scrutiny. At most, it conceals matters related to spiritual practice. S.H.I.E.L.D knows this story, and will definitely investigate and verify it later, and come to the conclusion that Evan is not lying, so they can rest assured. In fact, even if Evan didn't say anything, S.H.I.E.L.D would still investigate. Rather than hiding it, it would be better to be honest. Anyway, these things are not necessarily confidential. This is why Evan took the initiative to tell this story. After listening to their stories, Sharon, who had been silent, asked, "Are there only 3 copies in the game?" No, in fact, at the beginning, there was only the copy of Iron Man 1 in the game, and the public area was only Malibu Beach. Until recently, the game was down for maintenance for 3 days, and the copies of Iron Man 2 and Captain Marvel 1 were updated. And the public area Hawaiian Islands. "I think there will definitely be more copies and more public areas in the future," Wanda said. "Are we the only players in the game?" Natasha Romanoff asked. "Well, except for you who just joined today, there are only me, Wanda, Gwen, Mr. Tony Stark, and Miss Virginia Potts." After getting the information they wanted, Natasha Romanoff and Sharon said goodbye to Evan and his party, left the public area, the Hawaiian Islands, and returned to the public area, Malibu Beach. They didn't find director Nick Fury here, so they simply went to clear the dungeon. "Evan, wouldn't it be good if we told our story to the S.H.I.E.L.D agent?" Wanda said hesitantly. "It doesn't matter if it's good or not. After they meet us, they will definitely investigate our identity. Rather than hiding it and arousing suspicion, it's better to tell them about us openly." Evan shrugged. "The people in S.H.I.E.L.D are all talented people, and when they go all out to conquer the dungeon, their efficiency is very high." Not long after, Nick Fury, Maria Hill, and Philip J. Coulson successively cleared the copies of Iron Man 2 and Captain Marvel 1. Shortly after that, Natasha Romanoff and Sharon also cleared the 2 dungeons. The people who were most surprised by the Captain Marvel storyline were Nick Fury and Phil Coulson. Because the story in this copy is their experience back then. Even the various NPCs in the dungeon are exactly the same as they know them. Whether it is memory, personality, behavioral habits, or even abilities, etc., they are no different from reality. Fury and Phil Coulson are sure that no one was around to watch the Captain Marvel incident, but this game demonstrates everything they experienced back then. What does this mean? This shows that the people behind the game are able to observe the past. Since we can observe the past, it should be easy to observe the future. In other words, the dungeon story's interpretation of the past and future plots may be true. However, compared to the unchangeable past, the future can be changed. For example, Tony Stark, who knew the future in advance, changed his original destiny and became Iron Man in advance. Chief Fury, Natasha Romanoff, and I got some new information from Evan and others. Sharon informed director Nick Fury of the information she had obtained together with Natasha Romanoff. "I think it's time to talk to Stark." Nick Fury looked at the real-world time displayed on the game panel and found that the outside world at the moment was only 1 AM, which was still far from dawn. Since Tony Stark was also in this game, he decided to get in touch with him first. Fury added function with friends, added Tony Stark, communicated with the other party, got the address, and then went to Tony Stark's home in the public area Malibu Beach. Natasha Romanoff, Maria, Sharon, and Phil Coulson suddenly found that they and others seemed to have nothing to do. "How about we go to the public area in the Hawaiian Islands for vacation?" Sharon suggested. "Agree." Natasha Romanoff was the first to respond. "Since the time flow rate here is so different from the real world, and we have enough boring time here, it seems good to relax once in a while." Commander Hill hesitated for a moment and agreed. Phil Coulson definitely doesn't mind either. Agents are human beings too. They used to be busy people, and they all fantasized about more vacations. With this game, they can have more vacation time. Why not use your free vacation time? So, a group of 4 people teleported to the public area, the Hawaiian Islands, and started their vacation life. I have to say that the game created by Evan is very good at cultivating people. Nick Fury arrives at Tony Stark's house. Well, home in the game. Here he meets Tony Stark's girlfriend Pepper Potts. "Where's Stark?" Nick Fury asked Pepper. "He's in the laboratory down there." When little Pepper said this, there was a lot of resentment in her tone. This is a game world, and the time scale has been expanded, but her boyfriend Tony Stark is unwilling to spend more time with her. Instead, he is engaged in scientific research just like in the real world. This makes his girlfriend mad. Although she was very angry, Xiao could only endure the stomachache because she loved that playboy so much. Nick Fury came to the underground laboratory and met Tony. "Hey, isn't this Nick Fury? You came here to tell me that the world is not simple. Unfortunately, I already know that. Tony Stark said teasingly when he saw Fury. I thought you would be more of a stink. Nick Fury showed a dead fish-eye expression. Probably because I know what kind of person you are through a copy of the game. Tony Stark shrugged. Then you should also know that people like me can't just take things easy like ordinary people, but need to prepare for a rainy day. Once, Ronan of the Kree Empire led a fleet to invade our homeland. At that time, Carol existed, and only then can our homeland survive the crisis safely. But no one can say whether other aliens will invade us in the future. Nick Fury said solemnly. So what? So, I have the Avengers plan. I plan to set up a superhero team and invite powerful people like you to join us to deal with troubles that ordinary people can't solve. In principle, I don't object, but I'm usually very busy. Tony Stark did not directly reject Nick Fury as he did in the original Time and Space, because after learning about the existence and threat of aliens, Tony Stark has always been he has a sense of urgency. If there is an alien invasion in the future, he will also need teammates. It won't take up your private life, because the Avengers will only be activated during extraordinary events. And my Avengers plan is just an idea now. Nick Fury paused here and then mentioned another thing. What do you want to tell me about Evan and Wanda? I investigated them. They were two poor children who became orphans because of a civil war that took place in Sokovia. But the irony is that the weapons that killed their relatives were all produced by our company. Tony. Stark laughed at himself. Yes, the death of Evan's parents was also related to the weapons produced by Stark Industries. Evan didn't know about this, but Tony Stark investigated it, so Tony Stark was not only guilty of Wanda, but also guilty of Evan. Chapter 16. Public Area. Malibu Beach. In Evan and Wanda's villa. Evan, Wanda, and Gwen are all here at the moment. Gwen told Evan that she wanted to learn Kung Fu. You can learn if you want, but you must promise me that without my permission, you cannot pass on the practice methods that Wanda and I taught you to others, and you cannot keep any written records of these practice methods, even if they are recorded and not even on the computer. Evan said seriously. Evan didn't want his skills to be spread everywhere. I swear, the cultivation techniques you taught me will never be passed on from me. Wanda, please teach Gwen the Lihoku Immortal Thief. Okay. Wanda took Gwen's hand and went aside, and began to teach Gwen the cultivation method of Lihoku Immortal Thief. When Gwen learned that the Lihoku Immortal Thief could make people stay young and extend their lifespan, she almost jumped with excitement. As a girl, a beautiful girl, Gwen definitely hopes that her youth and beauty can last forever. Gwen Stacy, although she does not have any roles in the Marvel movie universe, she is related to Spider Totem. With the existence of this cause and effect, perhaps Gwen only needs to complete some symbolic rituals to obtain abilities similar to Spider-Man. This symbolic ritual is very simple. She only needs to be bitten by a spider. Any spider will do. After doing so, she will have a high probability of gaining super ability. The act of being bitten by a spider will allow Gwen to establish a connection with the Master Weaver and gain the spider's super ability. What's this? This is the protagonist's halo. Gwen has the aura of the protagonist. Even if she is not bitten by a spider, her aura still shines. This is not difficult to judge from Gwen's cultivation ability. Yes, Gwen's occult practice ability is very powerful. Her ability to practice Lihoku Immortal Thief is no worse than Evan and Wanda. After this, Gwen moved into Evan and Wanda's home. The home mentioned here is the home of the game world. She moved in here to practice better. Because here, he can ask Evan and Wanda any questions they encounter during their practice. Sometimes, if a girl often receives favors and help from handsome guys, she may fall in love over time. Just like Gwen, his affection for Evan is growing day by day. In particular, Evan has great looks and is a super handsome guy. In Gwen's mind, Evan is a boy who meets her criteria for choosing a mate. But Gwen restrained herself. Because he didn't want to ruin the relationship between Wanda and Evan, so he could only bury the relationship deeply. Neither Evan nor Wanda realized the change in Gwen's mentality. But accidents happen. On this day, Gwen's Lihoku Immortal Thief cultivation level successfully broke through to the first level. Because of Gwen's breakthrough, Wanda decided to celebrate her best friend Gwen. During the celebration, Evan, Wanda, and Gwen started drinking. In order to keep the atmosphere alive, the three of them took the initiative to suppress the digestive ability of Lihoku Immortal Thief, and as a result, they were all drunk. In her drunken state, Gwen became less reserved and scrupulous, and became bolder, reaching out to Evan. The drunken Wanda was even more confused. Instead of stopping Gwen, The next morning, when Wanda woke up, she found that her boyfriend was not only hugging her, but also hugging Gwen. Especially Wanda also found that everyone's body was very cool. Wanda's body froze. She began to recall what happened last night and gradually recalled everything. My best friend hooked up with my man, and instead of stopping me, I encouraged him. Wanda is petrified. Gwen also woke up at this time. However, Gwen is not Wanda and has no mental ability. She drank the fragment yesterday and has no idea what happened last night. After waking up, Gwen found herself being held by Evan and her body felt cool. Gwen's body also stiffened. What happened yesterday? I won't lose my virginity, right? Gwen thought to herself. To verify, Gwen felt her body and found that it was true. Gwen had mixed feelings. But she doesn't regret it, she just doesn't know how to face her best friend Wanda in the future. At this moment, Wanda and Gwen suddenly felt that Evan's arms around them suddenly tightened. The two knew that Evan had woken up. Both turned their eyes to Evangelist. Evan was a little embarrassed at the moment. But in line with the principle of extending his head and cutting his head, he hugged them tightly and said, although what happened last night was an accident, since it has happened, why don't we do it in the future? Just live together. I know I'm greedy and selfish, but that's what I think. Wanda was silent. Gwen said angrily, you still want to ride on two boats? Evan nodded. You are too carefree. Gwen said. Then are you willing to be with me who is a playboy? Evan asked. I don't know. Gwen was confused. Then I'll take it as your acquiescence. Evan looked at Wanda again, ready to say something, but was interrupted by Wanda. Don't speak, I don't want to talk. Then I'll take it as your acquiescence. In short, from this day on, the three of them confirmed their relationship and were really together. Iron Man was born in advance, and the story of Iron Man 2 definitely happened in advance. This is not surprising. The story of Iron Man 2 is because Iron Man took the initiative to expose himself. After Hydra and the Eagle Sauce official knew about it, he was covetous of Tony's steel battlesuit, so he held a hearing and wanted to ask Tony Stark to hand over the steel battlesuit technology. Now that Tony Stark has become Iron Man and revealed his identity 2 years in advance, the story of Iron Man 2 takes place in advance, which is normal. If there is any difference, it is probably that there is no shrapnel in Tony Stark's body, so there is no palladium reactor installed in his chest, there is no palladium poisoning, and Stark Industries does not hold a technology expo. The biggest change in the plot is that Tony Stark learned about the existence of Ivan Vanko in advance in the game copy. In order to prevent the arc reactor technology from leaking out, Tony Stark found Ivan Vanko in advance and killed him. System prompt, ding. The fates of Tony Stark, Nick Fury, Philip J. Phil Coulson, Natasha Romanoff, Maria Hill and Sharon Carter have shifted to varying degrees. Congratulations to the host for receiving the reward, 2000 redemption points. Chapter 17. At this time, it is 9 a.m. in the real world, and Wanda has already gone to Midtown High School. Evan was sitting alone at home, opening the System Redemption Mall, ready to redeem some new magic knowledge. Currently, the magic mastered by Evan is as follows: Level 0 spells, Magician Armor, Magic Missiles, Pockets of Darkness, Invisible Servant, Understand Languages. Level 1 spell, Defeat the enemy first. Second level spell, Blazing Fireball. Now Evan has 2000 redemption points and can redeem new spells. He started selecting in the system mall. After some picking and choosing, he selected his favorite spells, which are as follows: Third level spell. Illusion System. Higher Phantom, 400 redemption points. Fourth level spell. Protection. High level Magician Armor, 500 redemption points. Fifth level spell. Illusion. Shadow Conjuration, 600 redemption points. After redeeming the knowledge related to these three magics, Evan still has 500 redemption points left. The effects of the above three spells are as follows: Advanced Phantom, create a phantom that is exactly the same as yourself. It will continue to exist without removing the spell, and will be controlled by the magician, and it can also make sounds. High level Magician Armor, this spell is an advanced spell of Magician Armor, and its defense is 100 times stronger than Magician Armor. Shadow Conjuration, use the power of shadow to simulate all evocation and conjuration spells of level 4 and below. To say which spell is the most cost-effective, it must be the Shadow Curse. Although shadow conjuration is classified as an illusion, its only connection with illusion is shadow. Casting this spell can use the power of shadow to simulate real evocation and conjuration spells. In other words, the spells that shadow conjuration can simulate are not illusions, but real spells. There are many spells that can be simulated by shadow conjuration. The caster does not need to master them. As long as the effect is known, it can be directly simulated by shadow conjuration. For example, it simulates the 4th level spells of the evocation system: Bloodthorn, Heavenly Light, Dark Curse, and Chain Explosion. Another example is simulating the 4th level spells of the conjuration system: Spiritual Mounts, Random Doors, Jumping in Fire, Secondary Creation Spells, etc. With new knowledge, Evan was not in a hurry to learn it. Speaking of which, since Evan recovered his past life memories, he has spent almost all of his time in the game world, and he has not spent much time in the real world. He thinks this is not good. From now on, he plans to be active in the real world during the day and in the game world at night. He began to consider whether to continue updating the game or whether to invite new players. According to Real World Time, the last update of the game was 2 days ago. If it were updated every 2 days, I'm afraid it wouldn't take more than 2 months for all the movie plots in the Marvel movie universe to be updated. Unless, some copies not related to the Marvel movie universe are updated first. For example, the X-Men series, the Fantastic Four series, the Blade series, and the comic drama series. Or, update functional copies, such as arena copies, actual combat simulation copies, personal home copies, etc. Evan thought for a moment and decided not to update the game for the time being, because there was no need to rush it. Instead of constantly updating copies, it is better to experience life in the real world. Currently, in the real world, Evan does not have a stable source of income. He and Wanda's daily living expenses are obtained by cheating in Hell's Kitchen last time. It's okay to do this kind of thing once or twice. If you use this as a daily source of income, it would be too sad. But Evan is unwilling to work for someone else. Today, Evan still has more than 9 million USD in cash. In fact, if he saves a little money, it will be enough to spend a lifetime. But Evan is not satisfied with the present. He was wondering, is there any way that a time traveler can make money? The way time travelers make money is nothing more than copying. Copy novels, poems, scripts, and songs, and rely on plagiarism to reach the top of your life. If the world Evan traveled to was not Marvel, maybe he would actually do this. But since the world we traveled to is Marvel, if we try to play Bunshiryu, our brains will be really messed up. After thinking about it, Evan came up with a plan that was not a plan. He planned to redeem a piece of technology from the System Exchange Mall, which could be used to make puppets. The puppets mentioned here are the kind that can be controlled remotely, have self-intelligence, and look like humans. With a puppet, you can let the puppet go out and make money on your behalf. The appearance design of the puppet can refer to the two-dimensional character. For example, Benzina, Tosaka Rin, and so on. Just thinking about making a two-dimensional wife makes Evan excited. Evan clicked on the System Exchange Mall, searched through it, and found a technology that met the requirements. Terminator T800 technology, redemption price, 500 redemption points. Speaking of T800, everyone must think of Governor Shi, but that is just the appearance. In fact, T800 is just a model of the Terminator series of robots. The specific image of the robot depends on the designer's wishes. After mastering this technology, Evan turned on his computer, placed an order online, and began purchasing the materials needed to make the robot. The logistics in the Marvel world are very good. Evan placed the order in the morning, and around noon, the logistics began to deliver the materials. Evan entered the game world with these materials and used the game editor to create a small private factory for himself in the game world. The location of the small factory was placed directly below Evan's villa in the game. It is considered an underground factory. He used CNC machine tools and other equipment in a small factory to process various purchased materials, produce the parts needed for the robot, and assemble them one by one. Until 5 p.m. outside time, a T800 model Terminator was released. The appearance of this T800 is designed to look like an 18-year-old human girl, and its appearance is based on Angel Yan in the story of Super Seminary. Evan named this T800 robot Abigail Dorothy. This is a rather meaningful name. Abigail means God's joy. For those who value feelings, everything will be in harmony. Dorothy means a conscientious and devout Christian. Evan gave it this name because he hopes it can become a wonderful person. Even if it is a robot, it is best not to imitate Blacken, the predecessors of Skynet and Ultron. Evan put on Miss Robot's clothes and took her out of the game world to her home in the outside world. He asked the robot lady to connect to the internet and learn human knowledge from the internet to improve the artificial intelligence personality. Miss Robot received the order and began to learn all kinds of knowledge from the internet to improve herself. Chapter 18. Thanks for the monthly vote of Give Me a Change. Thanks to the Demon Emperor for the 100 VIP points reward, there is a concept in science fiction called the 3 laws of robotics. The first law: a robot may not harm a human being or remain inactive while witnessing danger to a human being. Second law: a robot must obey orders given to it by humans, except when the order conflicts with the first law. Third law: robots must protect their own survival as much as possible without violating the first and second laws. Evan didn't give Miss Robot any 3 laws of robots. The only law was to make Miss Robot loyal to herself. In fact, if the robot really wants Blacken, it will be useless even if there are 3 laws of robots. Blacken will still give you Blacken when it is time. There are too many similar examples in science fiction stories. Evan wants the robot lady to help him with his work, which includes a lot of dirty work. If the robot lady is restricted by the 3 laws, it will be unsightly. At worst, I'll just take it off and create another Ultron. Miss Robot learns new knowledge from the internet very quickly. In just a quarter of an hour, it has the ability to think as well as humans, and its intelligence continues to grow. Evan looked at Miss Robot and asked it curiously, "Abigail, what do you think of us humans? I find it difficult to understand many of your behaviors." Miss Robot looked at Evan and said expressionlessly. It hasn't learned expression management yet, so its expressions are not vivid. She looks like a girl with 3 knots. Even the tone of his speech had no fluctuations, it was like a mechanical synthesis sound. "Then what do you think of me?" Evan asked again. "In the program, I must execute your orders, and you have my highest authority." "That's not what I asked." "What is that?" "Its opinions, for example, what kind of person do you think I am?" "There is a lack of data and it is impossible to judge." "Then continue studying." "Yes." Half an hour later. Miss Robot has learned more from the internet and has been able to answer Evan's previous questions. "You asked me what I thought of you before, and I think I can answer that question now. Tell me. From the analysis of your expression, you have certain expectations for me. I speculate that the purpose of your creation of me is to help you deal with certain things better. So, will you help me?" "Definitely, you are my father, and I am happy to help you solve your problems. First get a legal identity for yourself, and then help me make money. There is no need to pursue efficiency in making money, just legality. I can give it a try." The robot lady received the order and started working. It used some methods it learned from the internet to try to invade relevant departments and forge its own identity, but problems arose in this first step. In today's internet, there are not so many security holes. This is no longer the golden age of hackers. Even if the robot lady is an artificial intelligence, it is not that easy to hack into the population file data. In order to complete the task assigned by her father Evan, Miss Robot can only continue to learn from the internet. It was not until 6:30 p.m. that its network intrusion technology was further improved, and it finally successfully hacked into the relevant departments and forged a legal Yingzhong citizen identity for itself. With her identity, Miss Robot began to think about how to make money. Because Evan stipulates that the goal is not to make money efficiently, but to be reasonable and legal, so the robot lady takes a long time to think about it. At this time, Wanda came home from school. As soon as she entered the door, she found a beautiful girl at home, so she asked Evan, "Who is this?" "She is Abigail Dorothy, a simulation robot I made." Evan introduced Wanda. Afterwards, Evan introduced Wanda to Miss Robot. Miss Robot greeted Wanda politely, "Hello, madam, I am Abigail Dorothy. I am happy to serve you." At the moment, the tone of the robot lady's speech is no longer as rigid as it was at the beginning, with emotional ups and downs. This shows that the robot lady is constantly learning human knowledge from the internet and improving its own intelligence. Wanda was surprised. She didn't expect that Evan would quietly build a robot, and this robot looked very similar to a human being. She was not surprised that Evan had robotics skills. She knew that Evan had a secret that he kept from her and she could still see it after living with him for so long. She doesn't mind if the other person hides something from her, after all, no one has a secret. What really made Wanda curious was what Evan wanted to do with the robot, and she asked this question. I plan to let Abigail help us make money outside. After all, we can't just sit back and have nothing. This was Evan's reason. Don't we still have more than 9 million in cash here? We shouldn't need to make money. Just as Evan was about to speak, Abigail looked at Evan immediately and said, Father, I have come up with a plan to make money. You can give me your 9 million to operate in the stock market. Because of my special characteristics, you can easily get the internal information of each company, and you can make a profit without losing money. Evangelist. Wanda. The two looked at each other. Immediately, Evan said, Okay, we will leave our 9 million to you, don't let us down. Don't worry, Father, Abigail will never let him down. Miss Robot promised. Evan took his family's 9 million cash back from the villa in the game world to the real world. The 9 million in cash was packed in several suitcases. Evan is curious about how Miss Robot plans to launder the money. Miss Robot's answer was, if you allow me, I can use some illegal methods to launder the money into legal income and deposit it in the bank. Evan's mouth twitched. Wanda's expression was subtle. Wanda looked at Evan and said with her eyes, You, this artificial intelligence robot, have criminal tendencies. Evan was helpless. He said to Miss Robot, Don't be so troublesome. We can ask Tony Stark for help. We just need to explain to him the origin of the money, give it to him, and ask him to transfer 9 million to our online banking. This way the money was laundered into legitimate income. What is your relationship with Mr. Tony Stark? Miss Robot asked. You don't need to worry about this. Once I launder the money, you can use my account to operate in the stock market. Okay. Miss Robot took the order. After this, Evan called Tony Stark. At the moment, Tony Stark was developing his next-generation steel battlesuit in a laboratory in the game world and had no time to answer Evan's call. Evan called Pepper again. This time someone picked up. Chapter 19. Evan, what's wrong? Pepper's voice came from the other end of the phone. Miss Potts, it's like this. I have about 9 million in cash here, but it's hard to explain the origin of the money, so I want to ask you and Mr. Stark for a favor. Evan said. First of all, where did you get this money? The little Pepper on the other end of the phone had a very subtle expression. She had heard Tony Stark tell her about Evan and Wanda, and knew that Tony felt guilty about these two people. For ordinary things, little Pepper is still willing to help. But she needs to know where Evan and Wanda's money came from. Are they going to break the law? You know, Wanda and I have some special abilities, just like the magic we use in the game world. We rely on this ability to be superheroes in Hell's Kitchen and deal with gangsters. By the way, I understand, let's take advantage of others. Zai Jiao's expression became more subtle. Roughly the same. Okay, I can make the decision on this matter. I will find a name to transfer $9 million to you later. You can just enter the game later and give me the cash. Thank you for your help, Miss Pepper. After chatting for a few more words, Evan hung up the phone. A few minutes later, Evan's phone received a bank transfer text message. Stark Industries transferred 9 million to his bank account in the name of purchasing patents. The idea of purchasing patents is just a name used to launder money. As for whether Stark Industries actually purchased anything from Evan, it doesn't matter. Evan said to Miss Robot, Okay, you can use my account to operate now. Okay, Dad. Miss Robot sat aside and started using Evan's account to operate on the online stock market. Evan and Wanda took the boxes of cash and entered the game world. They came to Tony Stark's villa in the game world and rang the doorbell. Pepper had just logged into the game and she opened the door for the two of them. Ms. Pepper, this is the cash agreed upon before, totaling $9.27 million. The extra is a thank you fee for your help. Evan said. There is no need for a thank you fee. The 9 million I transferred to you is in the name of patent fees. These money are included in the tax bureau, which means you need to pay taxes, which is not cheap. Little Pepper said. I know that. Evan definitely knows the personal income tax rate of Yingjiang. If the income is over 1 million, the tax rate can be as high as 10%. This means that Evan needs to pay 1/10 of the 9 million in his account. Pay the tax, otherwise someone will come to check the water meter. In short, after all the hard work, Evan and Pepper finally got their money back. Saying goodbye to Pepper, Evan and Wanda left together. On the way back, Wanda said, "Is your robot reliable?" "It should be reliable. The technology I used to make it is relatively advanced. It probably won't be blacken. By the way, do you want a robot? I have a lot of materials left and can help you make a robot. You can put the robot in the game world on weekdays and call it out when needed," Evan said. "Can any image be used?" Wanda became interested. Let me think about it." Wanda thought for a moment, and then said, "What do you think about using my image to make a robot, so that I can use the robot as a stand-in?" "It's okay to be a stand-in, but you have to adjust your stand-in robot yourself so that she can play you more perfectly." While the two were talking, they returned home. Evan took Wanda to the underground laboratory, where he made a robot stand-in for Wanda. 10 hours later, a robot that looked exactly like Wanda was born. Wanda brought her own set of clothes and put them on the robot's stand-in. In order to make the robot useful, Evan and Wanda did not continue to stay in the game world. Instead, they took the robot out of the game world and returned to the villa outside. They let the Wanda robot connect to the outside internet, learn various knowledge, and improve its own artificial intelligence. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Gwen logged into the game again. But today, she didn't see Wanda and Evan in the game world. Clicking on the friends list, I found that the two of them were not online. So Gwen went offline and returned home, picked up her cell phone and dialed Evan's cell phone number. The call was quickly answered. "Evan, why didn't you and Wanda enter the game today? We have built 2 artificial intelligence robots, and we are currently connecting the robots to the internet to learn knowledge. We will not log into the game for the time being," Evan said. "What kind of robot? Tell me about it." Gwen became interested. "It's the kind of simulation robot that can 100% simulate humans in appearance." Evan briefly described it to the other party. "If it wasn't night now, I would definitely go to your house to see the legendary robot. There will be a chance. Wanda and I will not enter the game world tonight. You can go in by yourself first." "All right." After hanging up the phone, Gwen entered the game world again. Today, she did not go to the Hawaiian Islands in the public area. Instead, she stayed in the villa on the Malibu beach in the public area and practiced Laihoku Immortal Thief alone. Laihoku Immortal Thief can keep people young forever. Gwen is very eager to live forever, so she is very serious about practicing. This night, the robot Abigail Dorothy and the stand-in robot Wanda completely perfected their personalities through the internet that connects the human world. Their intelligence has surpassed that of humans. Although they did not create ability, their thinking speed and IQ are far beyond Superman. Fortunately, they did not have Blacken, but were particularly obedient. Interestingly, they call Evan their father and Wanda their mother. The sense of déjà vu with a baby. Chapter 20. When Abigail learned through the internet, she also separated part of her thinking process and used Evan's money to operate in the stock market. As a super artificial intelligence robot, Abigail can easily hack into the internal networks of major listed companies and obtain a lot of inside information. Based on this, Abigail can operate in the stock market, and the probability of losing money is almost zero. Evan thinks this is inappropriate. If you make money based on the stocks you buy, you are not a stock god, but cheating. Sooner or later, someone with a good heart will see the problem. After being reminded by Evan, Abigail gradually learned to be smarter. When buying and selling stocks, she no longer made 100% profit, but lost and lost. She definitely made more than she lost. In this way, Evan and Wanda have a continuous and stable source of income. Even if they spend money lavishly in the future, they don't have to worry about sitting on nothing. Wanda's adjustment process for the stand-in robot was also quite smooth. The robot's learning ability is very strong, and it can learn and imitate Wanda very efficiently. It looks more and more like Wanda. If it weren't for the fact that it was already 7 a.m. and it was going to be school time soon, she would definitely continue to train the stand-in robot. But now that she had no time, she put the stand-in robot into the game world villa for storage and put it on standby. "Honey, I'm going to school." Wanda kissed Evan on the cheek, then hurriedly left with her satchel, got on the waiting school bus, and went to school. 9 a.m. Evan came to New York Presbyterian Hospital. He came to the hospital not because he was sick, but because there was a neurosurgeon in the hospital, and that doctor's name was Stephen Strange. At this point in time, Stephen Strange wasn't particularly famous. After all, it was still 2007. The Doctor Strange story won't happen until 2017. 10 years ago now, Stephen Strange was just a new surgeon, not the renowned surgeon he would become in the future. Evan comes here to tag Stephen Strange. At this moment, Stephen Strange is not operating. He is chatting with a surgical nurse named Christine Palmer. Judging from the closeness of the two, it is not difficult to guess that they are a couple. Evan quietly turned into a fly, flew over to contact Stephen Strange, and successfully marked him. After doing this, he flew to the bathroom not far away and restored his original shape there. At 10 o'clock that night, Game World, public area, Malibu Beach, a certain villa. Stephen Strange is summoned and appears on the bed in the villa's bedroom. Strange looked at this unfamiliar bedroom in confusion, wondering why he suddenly appeared in this place. Before, he had just fallen asleep with his girlfriend Kristen Palmer in his arms. Could it be that he was having a lucid dream? Strange sat up from the bed, and then found the game panel in his sight. Game interface. Strange murmured to himself, "Am I really dreaming?" A quarter of an hour later, Strange finally figured out the situation and knew that he was not dreaming, but had really come to the game world. Such a real game couldn't have been created by aliens. Anyway, Strange doesn't believe that today's human civilization has such advanced virtual reality technology. Did my consciousness enter here, or did my body also come in? Don't know, he doesn't know anything. Since this is a game world, there must be other players. As long as we can find other players, we can figure out the situation. Strange regains his composure and tries to get out of the villa. However, the game system prompted him that he must complete the first copy in the copy list before he could go to the public area outside the villa. Strange clicked on the dungeon page in the game panel and saw 3 dungeons inside, namely Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and Captain Marvel 1. Iron Man? Is this the story of Tony Stark? Who is Captain Marvel? I have never heard of this superhero. After hesitating for a moment, Stephen Strange clicked and entered the copy Iron Man 1. There is no doubt that Stephen Strange is a highly intelligent person with a very high intelligence and the ability to remember photographs. When facing a strange environment, his clear mind and extraordinary IQ will allow him to find the safest way to survive in a strange environment. In this dungeon, Stephen Strange survived the initial panic, gradually adapted to the rhythm here, and quickly integrated into his role and participated in the story of the dungeon. As the dungeon progresses, Strange has a certain understanding of Tony Stark through the story of this dungeon. He spent more than 2 months in the game dungeon and became friends with the NPC Tony Stark in the dungeon. It's not an initiative to make friends, it's just the experience of sharing hardships. The compatibility between the two is still very high, which may be the reason why they become friends. Strange tried to tell NPC Tony Stark that this world was just a virtual reality in the game, but he failed because the game system would prevent players from revealing similar information to the NPC. Once you are ready to reveal it, you will be banned by the game system, making it impossible to speak out or write it down. In any case, Stephen Strange successfully cleared the copy Iron Man 1. Stephen Strange, who returned to the villa, looked at this familiar yet unfamiliar place and said to himself, "I didn't expect that I would become friends with the NPCs in the game." After talking to himself, Stephen Strange left the villa and came to the public area outside the villa. Is this Malibu Beach in Los Angeles? In the game, the time at the moment is around 3 p.m. Strange met a boy of 14 or 15 years old on the beach not far away. The game panel showed that the opponent was also a player like him. Stephen Strange, who was eager to know the information here, decisively walked towards the other party. That young man is none other than Evan. At the moment, he was standing on the beach in front of his villa, silently learning the 3rd level spell, Advanced Phantom. This spell can create a phantom that will exist forever as long as it is not lifted. The image of the phantom can be customized, and the phantom's behavior can also be edited. This is similar to computer programming, allowing the phantom to react differently to different situations. For example, set the trigger condition for the phantom, for example, set it like this: Condition 1, encounter humans. Behavior: if Condition 1 is met, execute the instruction to greet the other party. Condition 2, the other party greets you. Behavior: if Condition 2 is met, execute the instruction to slap the other person. After setting the advanced phantom like this, Evan can place the phantom anywhere, and when someone enters that place, the phantom will greet them. If the opponent also greets the phantom will slap the opponent in the face. Definitely, the higher phantom can still be controlled by the caster, provided that the caster cannot be too far away from the higher phantom. But, in essence, the advanced phantom is just a phantom. It looks very real, but it has no collision volume and cannot make physical contact with the material in the real world. By analogy, it is more like a ghost. Chapter 21. Evan, who was practicing, heard footsteps approaching. He turned to look at the person and found that it was Stephen Strange. "I am Stephen Strange. I have just become a player here. I have many questions about this place," Strange said. "I'm Evan. If you have any questions, just ask." Evan is happy to serve as a game guide and answer players' questions. Next, Stephen Strange asked Evan many questions. Through questioning, he had a clear understanding of this place. Stephen Strange knew what he wanted to know and decided to verify the authenticity of the other party's words, so he bid farewell to the other party and chose to log off in the game panel. The next moment, he realized that he was no longer at Malibu Beach, the public area of the game world, but back at the bedside in his bedroom. On the bed in the bedroom, Kristen Palmer was still asleep. Stephen looked at the clock in the bedroom and found that the date was still that night, not even a quarter of an hour had passed. "I have been in the game world copy for more than 2 months, and in reality, not even 15 minutes have passed." Stephen looked down at his body again, and he discovered that he had actually brought the clothes from the game world back to the real world. This proves in disguise that he entered the game world with his real body, not with his consciousness. As for why you can bring out clothes from the game world? According to the setting, shouldn't everything in the game world be unable to be brought back to reality? In fact, this restriction is not absolute. If it is just clothes, the game will not limit it, but you can only bring back the clothes you are wearing. If you want to create clothes in the game and then bring them into reality, this operation will not work. It was as if Stephen Strange had discovered a new world. He no longer had the initial panic, but instead looked a little excited and looking forward to it. He heard Evan say that people will not age in the game world, and the time in the game world flows so fast. In one day in the outside world, players can live in the game world for a year, and the time in the dungeon will flow even faster. What's this? This is life extension in disguise. Stephen Strange looked at his sleeping girlfriend Kristen Palmer, wondering how he could get his girlfriend into the Marvel superhero game. Evan told him that when players clear the dungeon, they have a chance to receive clearance rewards, including an invitation letter for new players. Stephen Strange has made a decision. He will continue to enter the game and brush copies, and try to get an invitation letter for new players, so that he can bring his girlfriend into the game. He silently said log into the game in his mind. The next second, Stephen Strange's body disappeared and entered the game world. Game world time. In the next few months, Stephen Strange has been soaking in the game world, constantly brushing copies, and has cleared Iron Man 2 and Captain Marvel 1 one after another. The story of Captain Marvel 1 shocked Stephen Strange. Is the story in this copy true or false? Have aliens invaded the Earth? He didn't quite believe it. But game copies do seem to represent what happened in reality, like Iron Man. Evan told him that Tony Stark also became a gamer. The real Iron Man has not experienced the story in the game. It is only because Tony Stark is also a game player and knows the future in advance through a copy of the game. This leads to differences in the details of the real Iron Man story. In other words, there really are aliens. But Stephen Strange didn't think too much about this matter. Anyway, there was a tall man holding up the sky if it fell. He was just an ordinary person, and it was not his turn to worry about that kind of thing. Instead of worrying about that, it's better to keep grinding the dungeon. As a player, you can change the plot of the dungeon, which allows players to have a different experience every time in the same dungeon, and there will never be a lack of freshness. After spending several months, Evan successively completed the practice of the 3-level spell. High-level Phantom, the 4-level spell. High-level Magician Armor, and the 5-level spell. Shadow Conjuration. With these skills, Evan's theoretical combat power value becomes higher. But in other aspects, he still lacks many things, such as practical experience. Therefore, Evan is going to give the Marvel superhero game a non-stop update and add a new copy called Actual Training Ground. According to Evan's idea, players can freely choose the enemies they want to fight on the actual combat training ground and conduct actual combat simulations. As for what selectable NPC enemies will be added, this degree of freedom can be set higher. As long as the player can name someone, the copy can be simulated 100%. Through the game editor, Evan quickly created the actual training ground. At the same time, a server-wide announcement was made. The game has been updated without downtime, and a new copy has been added, Actual Training Ground. Wanda, Tony, Pepper, Gwen, Natasha Romanoff, Fury, Hill, Phil Coulson, Sharon, and Strange all received this game announcement. By the name of the new copy, it is not difficult to guess the theme of the copy. For people like Pepper, Gwen, Strange, and Wanda, this copy is not very attractive, but for Tony and S.H.I.E.L.D, it is very meaningful. Players will not truly die in the game world, and with this copy, they can conduct high-intensity actual combat exercises again and again to increase combat experience. This copy can be entered by a single person or in a team. Fury, Natasha Romanoff, Hill, Phil Coulson, and Sharon, a 5-person team entered the Actual Training Ground to try this copy function. As soon as a few people came here, the game panel showed them the rules here. Evan also entered the Actual Training Ground copy, and he came in alone. After arriving here, he asked the copy to simulate the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One and engage in a one-on-one life and death battle with the opponent. The NPC Ancient One forced Evan into the mirror space as soon as he came up. The material form and gravity direction of the mirror space are controlled by the NPC Ancient One. The ground in the environment began to curl, crushing towards Evangelist. Evan used the shadow spell to simulate the conjuration spell and advanced invisibility to hide himself. At the same time, he cast Advanced Phantom, leaving a phantom with the same appearance and clothing as himself to confuse the NPC Ancient One. Evan himself came invisible behind NPC Ancient One, and was about to cast a spell to attack the opponent, but NPC Ancient One suddenly turned around, condensed the sacred sword of Emperor Wei-Shen in his hand, and slashed at Evan. It's normal for her to be able to see through Evan's invisibility. After all, he's an Ancient One magician. It would be abnormal if he couldn't see through it at all. Evan lacked combat experience, and he was too close to the NPC Ancient One. Faced with such an attack, it was already too late to dodge, so he could only activate the high-level magician armor in a hurry for defense. But Emperor Wei-Shen's sacred sword was not so easy to defend, and the shield was broken in an instant. Evan was split in half by the Ancient One. After his death, Evan was resurrected in the common area of the villa. Facing the Ancient One, who has not fully unleashed his strength and is not very serious, logically speaking, I shouldn't be defeated so ugly. Is it really because of my lack of combat experience? Evan summed up the problem and concluded that he was severely lacking in combat experience. Chapter 22. In order to make up for his lack of combat experience, Evan once again entered the Actual Combat Training Ground and conducted a simulated battle with the NPC Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One. Evan did not use the shadow spell to simulate advanced invisibility this time, and did not wait for the NPC Ancient One to pull him into the mirror space. He released the blazing fireball first. A large fireball with a diameter of 3 meters appeared. The fireball rolled on the ground and approached the NPC Ancient One with a crushing force. NPC Ancient One took his time and used only the spell Seraphim Shield to defend and crush the blazing fireball. Then, NPC Ancient One releases Sidorak's Scarlet Chain. The chains hit Evan like red tentacles. Evan hurriedly used 6-style shave, disappeared from the place in an instant, and appeared 10 meters away, avoiding the Scarlet Chain, and then used the shadow spell to simulate the evocation spell, Blood Thorn. Under Evan's guidance, thorny thorns sprouted from the ground. The thorns turned into vines and began to attack the NPC Ancient One. NPC Ancient One raised his hand and slapped the ground hard. The reality around me seemed to be shattered by this slap. Let everything, including Evan, be pulled into the mirror space as the space is shattered. The mirror space is the home of the NPC Ancient One. If you fight the NPC Ancient One here, you will become passive. For example, the blood thorns that attacked the NPC Ancient One were crushed by the surrounding earth that began to reverse. Then, the NPC Ancient One released the form of Magic Icon, duplicating hundreds of Ancient Ones in an instant. Each Ancient One is an entity and capable of releasing magic. The Ancient Ones launched an attack on Evangelist. Facing a large group of Ancient Ones, Evan was under great pressure. He could only use 6 styles and paper paintings to avoid the opponent's overwhelming magic attacks and narrowly escaped death. But he still lacks combat experience. If this was the real world, he would definitely have no problem hiding on the ground, but this is not reality, but a mirror space. At a certain moment, the ground beneath Evan's feet changed, causing Evan to trip. Immediately afterwards, the overwhelming Bosset's thunder hit Evan's body, turning him into charcoal and dying instantly. Evan was resurrected from his home in the common area. Evan was not convinced anymore. He gritted his teeth and entered the dungeon again to continue fighting with the NPC Ancient One. Even though he knew that he was no match for the NPC Ancient One, he still wanted to force the other party to use more strength instead of being killed lightly. Next, the battle continues. This time, Evan used the enemy's plan to predict the opponent's next move, but it was useless. The Ancient One's magic was always one after another, and the magic and magic could form an exquisite cooperation. Step by step, the enemy would be defeated. Evan pushed into the abyss. Compared with the other party, Evan is still too young. With Evan's challenges again and again, his combat experience has increased rapidly, and he has also developed many practical tactics. Although he still cannot beat the Ancient One, his actual combat ability has been greatly improved. In the villa in the public area, Wanda and Gwen couldn't bear to watch Evan enter the dungeon again and come back dead again and again. When Evan came back from death again, Gwen finally couldn't help it. She asked Evan, "What kind of enemy did you simulate for yourself in the actual training ground? Why did you die so many times?" Evan said, "It's the Ancient One. She is the strongest magician on Earth. She is also an Asgardian. She is very powerful. Are there other magicians on the Earth? I want to go to the dungeon to see them." Wanda became interested. She entered the actual training ground through the game panel and said the name of the Ancient One in it. The training ground automatically simulates the NPC Ancient One. Then, Wanda also died. Today's Wanda is not Scarlet Witch, and her fighting power is not as good as Evan. Even Evan can't defeat the Ancient One, and Wanda definitely can't do it either. Wanda came out looking frightened. "How strong is the Ancient One?" Gwen asked Wanda. "Indescribably powerful," Wanda said fearfully. "I'm going to see it too." Gwen also entered the training ground and chose the NPC Ancient One as his opponent. Then she was killed instantly. "Okay, that's awesome." Gwen came back from the dead with a look of horror. No wonder Evan was able to die again and again. The Ancient One was so powerful that he could kill her in seconds with just one move. "Wanda, you have the same ability as me, but you have the same problem as me, that is, you lack combat experience. I suggest you enter more dungeons to simulate actual combat. Your opponent does not have to choose Ancient One, you can also choose others." "Okay." Wanda also realized her lack of combat experience and decided to adopt Evan's suggestion. Next, Evan continued to go to the training ground to fight against the NPC Ancient One. He did not seek to defeat the opponent, but only sought to force the opponent to use more methods. Wanda also entered the actual combat training ground. This time she did not choose to fight the Ancient One. She only let the actual combat training ground automatically simulate various battlefield environments for her to practice in. Gwen has not entered this dungeon. At present, she only knows about Lyoku Immortal Thief. This thing can enhance physical fitness, but it does not enhance combat effectiveness much. Instead of wasting time to increase combat experience, it is better to first improve Lyoku Immortal Thief. Once you have perfected your cultivation, you can then consider the issue of combat experience. The outside time gradually comes to early morning. Evan, Wanda, and Gwen all went offline one after another. After breakfast, Wanda went to school. Evan sat alone at home, closing his eyes and digesting the combat experience gained from fighting the NPC Ancient One. These combat experiences are extremely valuable. With the blessing of these combat experiences, Evan's combat effectiveness has undoubtedly improved a lot. The abilities he has mastered are less awkward and more comfortable to use when used again. Time flies, time flies. The days go by. Time, unknowingly came to the early spring of 2008. During this period of time, Evan stopped tagging new players. Apart from accompanying his girlfriend, he spent all his time in the actual training ground of the game world, fighting various enemies. In addition to the Ancient One, there are Thanos, Odin, Hela, Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Blade Warriors, Vampires, Werewolves, Eternity, Death, Darkseid, Wonder Woman. In short, he has simulated fighting against many enemies, both from the Marvel world and from other worlds. Not every enemy can be defeated by Evan. When he fought against Odin and Hela, he wouldn't last long before he was killed. Fight against Eternity, Death, Annihilation, and Infinity. If you can't even see them, they will rush to the street inexplicably. After all, these are multi-level bosses, stronger than the Ancient One, and it is normal for Evan to die inexplicably. In a battle with gemless Thanos, under very few specific conditions, you can win, but most of the time you will fail. If you fight against the Infinity Gauntlet 6-stone Thanos, you will die quickly. In the battle with Thanos, the heart of the universe, Evan was defeated in seconds. Playing against the controller Thanos, he was also defeated. Evan, who has fought countless big guys, can be considered a battle-experienced person. Nowadays, Evan's actual combat ability is very strong. Even without the use of magic, just relying on physical skills is enough to deal with most strong people. He also has the possibility of defeating some enemies who are stronger than him. Chapter 23. Thanks to 18718 for the monthly ticket of Hidden Gong and Fame, thanks to the Demon Emperor for the 588 VIP point reward, thanks to Fenjiuhantian for the 1000 VIP points reward, Ding, Wanda Maximoff, Tony Stark, Virginia Potts, Gwen Stacy, Natasha Romanoff, Nick Fury, Maria Hill, Philip J. Phil Coulson, The fate of Len Carter and Stephen Strange has changed slightly, and the host will be rewarded with 3000 redemption points. Evan's eyes lit up. He quickly opened the System Exchange Mall. This time, he did not redeem the magic knowledge. After experiencing so many simulated battles, Evan is very clear that his current shortcoming is not in magic, but in his own life level, that is, his realm. If you want to improve your life level, you have to exchange for practice techniques, not skills. In the Exchange Mall, there are a variety of techniques to choose from, including cultivation techniques. But the prices of cultivation techniques are very expensive. For example, the cheapest version of the Emperor's Scripture that covers the sky costs 100,000 exchange points. Evan can't afford to redeem it now. After some picking and choosing, Evan finally exchanged for another 7 of the 8 magical skills, namely Chi Ti Origin, Zhuling Dispatch, Tongtian Ru, Feng Kaokuman, Shenji Balian, Deluo Cave View, and Chuang Chuan. Hand. Chi Body Source, it allows oneself to connect with the environment, possessing nearly unlimited Chi and unlimited recovery power, and improving the body's mysterious resistance. Spirit Restraining General, manipulate the spirit body for your own use, and gain the ability of the spirit body by swallowing the spirit body. Tongtian Lu, the comprehensive expression of talisman. Feng Kaokuman, the ultimate form of Kimandungia, it can arrange various formations, and can also control time to a certain extent through formations. Divine Machine 100 Refining, a set of skills for mechanism, weapon refining, object control and object transformation. Deluo Cave View, transcendence from the secular world, insight into all things, and can even break the constraints of time and space at a specific time. Double Hands, can change one's own shape, change the shape of objects, slightly change the shape of space, slightly change the shape of time, perceive and manipulate life, create and control life. These are the 8 wonders. As long as you learn and master it, your strength can be greatly improved. However, if you want to practice all the 8 magical skills to the state of Dzogchen, you probably won't have to think about it for 100 years. Fortunately, Evan has the game world as a plug-in, which allows him to use the time in the game world to practice quickly. Otherwise, he may not be able to complete the practice by the time the Marvel movie universe ends. A set of 8 magic skills, just enough to spend all the 3000 exchange points Evan obtained. It can be said that the wind blows away the egg shells, and the wealth disappears and people are happy. Let's talk about Wanda again. During this time, Wanda also conducted various simulations at the actual training ground. Through simulated actual combat, Wanda's potential was finally unleashed, and she initially awakened the origin magic power, which allowed her to manipulate chaos energy to form psychokinesis, and she could also perform mind operations on others through contact. Preliminary awakenings. Wanda's magic power has been greatly increased when she casts magic. The same magic has a power of 1 when used by Evan, but a power of 2 when used by Wanda, or even higher. In terms of combat effectiveness, Wanda has surpassed Evan. It is foreseeable that in the next period of time, Wanda's strength will become stronger and stronger as the degree of origin magic power awakening increases. Evan was not jealous of being surpassed by Wanda, but it aroused his fighting spirit. In order to strengthen his husband's principles, he will practice harder. There is also Gwen. After such a long time, Gwen not only practiced the Lyoku Immortal Thief to the great perfection stage, but also learned the 6 postures. Unfortunately, Gwen has no magic ability, and she cannot learn Evan's D&D system magic. In fact, it is not impossible for Gwen to really want to learn magic. For example, Kamartaj's magic does not have much threshold, but Evan does not have the magic knowledge of that genre. Among the other players, who has changed the most is undoubtedly Tony Stark. He used his time in the game world to painstakingly upgrade his steel battlesuit. Now, he has upgraded his steel battlesuit to that of the original era of Ultron. To that extent, the combat effectiveness is further improved. On the other hand, the 5 players of S.H.I.E.L.D. did not gain particularly much. At most, they gained some combat experience through the training ground copy. Finally, there is Stephen Strange. Under Evan's secret operation, he successfully obtained the new player invitation letter from the copy, and his girlfriend Christine Palmer also became a player. Now, it's vacation time. This morning, Wanda went out alone, saying she was going to purchase some things that could be used as casting materials. Not long after Wanda went out, Gwen called Evan and said she wanted to go on a date with Evan. It's said to be a date, but actually it's just going out for a walk together. Speaking of which, not counting real-world time, Gwen and Evan have lived together in the game world for decades. When they were together, they no longer looked like a couple in love, but more like an old married couple, even though they both looked only 15 years old. After the two met, they held hands and walked across the road. Because Evan was not short of money, he bought a lot of good things for Gwen while shopping. Gwen also knew that Evan was not short of money. She also knew that the robot in Evan's family named Abigail Dorothy had made billions of USD for Evan and Wanda from the stock market during this period, so she did not give him any money. Evan saves money by simply asking Evan to pay with his card whenever he likes something. Evan, I want to expand the small factory under our villa in the game world and create a private laboratory just for me. Gwen said. In the Spider-Man movie, Gwen was a top student. Now in a different worldview, she is still a top student. In the past few decades in the game world, Gwen has not only been practicing and accompanying her boyfriend. She has also spent a lot of time learning all kinds of knowledge through the internet. By now, she is no longer a simple high school student, she has reached the level of a doctor. In terms of scientific research ability, she is not comparable to Maya Hansen and Helen Zhao, but it is not much different. There are many things Gwen wants to study, and this requires use of a laboratory. I won't be able to use that small factory anyway. It will belong to you from now on. Thanks. At noon, the two had lunch at the restaurant on the 7th floor of Westwood Shopping Center. The two of them chatted while eating. I have acquired some new methods of practice, which are different from magic. You can also practice them. Evan mentioned this matter. Is it as magical as the Lyoku Immortal Thief? Gwen became interested. It will only be more miraculous. The new method is very difficult to practice. It will take almost 100 years to complete it. At least I won't have to worry about having nothing to do for a long time in the future. That's true. Evan smiled. After lunch, the two continued to walk on the road. Chapter 24. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Evan sent Gwen home. As soon as he arrived at Gwen's house, he happened to meet Sheriff George Stacy, who was off duty. When George Stacy saw his daughter holding hands with a boy of the same age, not knowing that his daughter was in early love, his face suddenly became extremely gloomy. Gwen felt guilty when she saw her father. Question: My dad found out that I had a puppy love. What should I do? I'm waiting online. It's very urgent. Won't you introduce this friend of yours to me? George Stacy looked at his daughter, narrowed his eyes, and became full of parental aura. Facing such a father, Gwen was under great pressure. But then Gwen thought about it. I am no longer the same person I used to be. Although I look young, I am more mature than my father in my heart. What should I be afraid of? After thinking about this, Gwen held Evan's arm intimately and introduced her boyfriend to her father openly. He is my boyfriend, Evan Nelson. Although I haven't mentioned it before, Evan also has a surname. Nelson is his surname, and his full name is Evan Nelson. George Stacy's mood became even worse when he saw that his daughter, instead of feeling guilty, introduced her boyfriend to him openly. This feeling is as if your cabbage has been eaten by a pig. This girl will be beaten by her father. Hello Mr. Stacy, my name is Evangelist Evan, greets Sheriff George. George Stacy looked at Evan. He didn't have a good look on this guy who had stolen his own cabbage, but after thinking for a moment, he invited Evan to his home. Evan guessed that George Stacy invited him to his home as a guest, maybe because he wanted to attack him, so that he could give up and break up with Gwen. But this is also an opportunity for Evan. As long as he can get the other person to recognize him, he won't have to hide from Gwen's family when he dates Gwen again. So he readily agreed. Evan met Gwen's mother, Helen Stacy, at Gwen's house. Compared with the majestic George, Helen seems much kinder. Even if Helen knew that her daughter was in a relationship with someone else, she didn't have much opinion about it. From Helen's point of view, her daughter is also 15 years old this year. What's wrong with having a boyfriend? I think back then, when Helen was in high school, she had 3 boyfriends. The culture of this country is very open, and there is no such thing as chastity here. Most people's private lives are very chaotic before marriage, and they will restrain themselves after marriage. Helen Stacy prepared dinner. During the meal, George Stacy launched a verbal offensive against Evan Nelson, trying to make Evan quit and break up with his daughter. If Evan was really an ordinary 15-year-old boy, he would definitely not be able to withstand George Stacy, but people can become fine after living for a long time. Evan is not really only 15 years old. Let's not mention his life before time travel. The years he has lived in the game world far surpass that of George Stacy. Evan defused the opponent's offensive in an understatement and showed his excellence. He used polite and humorous eloquence to show his talents to the other party. George Stacy, who had not gained any advantage in the verbal confrontation, decided to change his mind and asked Evan his views on some social issues, hoping to take the opportunity to make the other party look embarrassed. George didn't believe that a kid who was not yet an adult would have any opinions on some social issues. Evan talked about his views on certain issues. These views were very mature and there were not many faults to be found. Gradually, George Stacy discovered that this little kid Evan was too impeccable, and he was also a top student. He was a top student but not a nerd at the same time, and he was so good looking. He was jealous when he saw such a person. No wonder I can grow my own cabbage. When Evan and George were talking, Helen and Gwen both looked on with smiles. When Helen looked at Evan, it was like a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law. The more she looked at him, the more satisfied she became. Gwen became more and more happy when she saw that the mail ticket easily defused her father's offensive. The only unhappy person was George Stacy. The atmosphere gradually became less tense. After dinner, Evan said goodbye and left. After Evan left, Gwen was interrogated by her parents. "Did you have S**X with Evan?" George asked his daughter. Gwen stiffened and was speechless. Seeing her like this, George couldn't tell that his cabbage was really taken advantage of. George Stacy was unhappy and scolded his daughter. Gwen was scolded but did not reply. Anyway, no matter what her father said, she always acted like "I won't listen, I'm just ABD chanting sutras." George Stacy was even more angry. As Evan walked home, he silently opened the system interface and issued an announcement to all players. The Marvel superhero game will undergo upgrade maintenance, and players will not be able to log into the game during this period. This upgrade maintenance will last for 3 days. The update content of this version is as follows: 1. Open new dungeons: Thor 1, Captain America 1, Avengers 1-2. Increase the game points function. Every time a player clears a copy, he will receive game points. The points can be regarded as the currency of the game world, which can be used for consumption in the game world, and can also be exchanged for goods in the game mall. 3. Open the game mall. Various knowledge skills can be redeemed in the mall, such as languages of various countries, proficiency in various musical instruments, workplace skills, etc. 4. Open a new public area. Los Angeles City 5. Open a non-realistic copy, Diablo 5. Fix some bugs. All players have received the game announcement. Everyone is looking forward to the next version. At the same time, I am also interested in points and redemption mall functions. The knowledge and skills in the mall seem to be able to bring back reality. For example, if you exchange the language of other countries, you can directly master it, whether in the game or outside the game. As soon as Evan got home, he was dragged by Wanda to discuss the game update. Until late at night, Wanda fell asleep. Evan started updating the game using the game editor. The game update process is very fast, and it was updated in less than an hour. Nowadays, there are more areas in the game, and the areas are as follows: public areas, Malibu Beach, downtown Los Angeles, Hawaiian Islands. Copies: Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Captain Marvel 1, Thor 1, Captain America 1, Avengers 1. Special copies: Actual Combat Training Ground, Diablo. Chapter 25. Among all the serious dungeons, there is an unorthodox Diablo dungeon mixed in, which is somewhat strange. In fact, there is nothing special about this dungeon. It is just a purely entertainment dungeon. This dungeon will not play many roles in the following chapters. Although the game has been updated, the maintenance time was 3 days as stated. Evan did not intend to destroy this tradition, so he did not start the game. The next day, Gwen came to visit Evan and Wanda's house. Because the game was still under maintenance and unable to enter the game, the three of them discussed it together and decided to take a 3-day RV road trip. They didn't have an RV, but they had money. The several people quickly assigned tasks. Evan was responsible for going out to buy an RV, while Gwen and Wanda were responsible for purchasing various supplies needed for the road trip. At noon that day, Evan came back in a luxury RV. Wanda and Gwen also bought everything they needed to buy and organized everything they needed to bring. Gwen and Wanda entered the RV and found that the interior of the RV was very spacious and had the atmosphere of a house, and they seemed very excited. After they loaded everything into the RV, they set off. There is no destination, just drive wherever you go. With the ability of several people, there is no need to worry about getting lost in dangerous places. There was nothing noteworthy about this road trip. It wasn't until the third day that the three of them returned to New York. At midnight that night, all players received a prompt and could log into the game. Evan and Wanda, as well as Gwen, and other players logged into the game one after another. Ignore other players. Evan said to Wanda and Gwen, I just took a look at the unrealistic dungeon Diablo. This dungeon can form a team of up to 5 people. Let's go and have a look in this dungeon. The reason why Evan created the dark copy was actually to create a greater time flow difference. According to the game settings, 1 day in the real world can last 1 year in the game public area. 1 day in the game public area, 1 month can pass in the game copy world. Marvel's game dungeons don't have very long storylines, and are interrupted by various events, making it difficult to use the time to practice. Therefore, it is necessary to make a purely entertainment-oriented Diablo dungeon. This dungeon is more about entertainment than anything else, and it can mainly be used to increase your practice time. Wanda and Gwen also want to take a look inside this so-called unrealistic copy. So the three of them entered team mode and entered this copy. This copy can be regarded as a prequel to Diablo 4. The story background is as follows: a long time ago, the universe was empty and dead. In the entire universe, there was only one creator god named Anu. Anu lived alone in this universe. Finally one day, he couldn't bear the loneliness and split himself into 2 lives, one symbolizing his bright side and the other symbolizing his dark side. Under normal circumstances, if one person becomes 2 people, they can change from fission reproduction to sexual reproduction, and combine to create life. This should have been a good thing, but the problem was that the god of darkness and the god of light were inherently incapable of dealing with each other. They fought back and forth all day long, and finally died together. Representing the god of light, his spine formed the crystal dome, which was later known as the high heaven. Angels were born here, and the 5 strongest angels became the rulers of the high heaven, including the great angel Terry. As for the god who represented darkness, he had 7 heads. When he died, his rotting body degenerated and burned, forming the burning hell. And its 7 heads turned into independent demons. 3 of the larger heads became the 3 Mephistos, Mephisto, Baal, and Diavolo. And those 4 smaller heads became the 4 demon kings. Angel and the devil were born from the god of light and the god of darkness. They inherited the fine traditions of their ancestors, but they disliked each other and continued to fight. The war between Angel and the devil lasted for a long, long time, so long that it is impossible to verify when it started. And this war, known as the eternal war in history, has not ended until now. The never-ending war has made many angels and demons feel war-weary. The great angel Tyrell in the high heaven has a subordinate named Inaris. Inaris is one of the war-weary elements. He is ready to give up his career. When he secretly told the other angels his thoughts, unexpectedly, I discovered that there are many angels who have similar ideas to him. As a result, the war-weariness quickly spread, even reaching the burning hell. In the burning hell, there are also some demons who don't want to continue fighting, and one of them is Lilith. Lilith is the daughter of Mephisto. Mephisto's daughter is particularly rebellious. She has a very bad relationship with her father Mephisto and her brother Lucian. Angel Inarius and the demon Lilith had the same ideas, so they hit it off and prepared to lead Angel and the demon who did not want to continue fighting away from the battlefield. But there are only two places in this universe, high heaven and burning hell. If they want to escape this eternal battle, they must create a new world. Angel Inaris thought of a way to steal something called the World Stone. This World Stone was formed by the eyes of the creator god Anu. Angel Inaris and the demon Lilith studied the World Stone together. In the end, they used the special characteristics of the World Stone to create a new world somewhere outside the high-level heaven and the burning hell. The war-weary angels and war-weary demons were ecstatic, and they followed Inaris and Lilith to this vast new world. As for the eternal war that has not yet been fought, let those compatriots who are still in heaven and hell continue to fight. Anyway, they don't want to continue fighting. This new world was named Sanctuary. The angels and demons who came here put aside their hatred for each other and started a new life. So here comes the problem. They have been at war with each other since they were born. They have no idea what a peaceful life is like or how to start a new life. Everyone was confused for a time. Until Angel Inarius and the demon Lilith had intercourse with each other, they found that this was very interesting and could give birth to the next generation, so they shared their experience with everyone, and everyone followed suit and played the game of creating humans by combining angel and the devil. However, here is a but. However, the children born from the union of angel and devil have incredible abilities. It seems that with a little training, they can easily surpass their biological parents. The descendants of these ability bombings were named by them, Nephilim. Angel Inaris became restless when he saw how powerful the Nephilim were. The other angels and demons living in Sanctuary thought that if things continued like this, they would one day be suppressed by their children. In the coffin. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.